G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to the next episode of the Trackside Lounge podcast. As always, I'm joined once again by my lovely mates from New Zealand. We've got ASR Atom. How you going?
Yes, I'm fantastic, mate. I'm excited to get chatting.
Bloody, that's awesome. That's what we're here to do, coincidentally. I've also got Nismo as well. How you going, mate?
Hey, very nice. Very good to see you boys, as always.
Rocking a fantastic
Absolutely.
T-shirt there, by the way.
Subtle,
Yeah, the T-shirt, the T-shirt goes all right. Hey, make sure you follow him on all his socials.
Yeah, mate.
I don't bloody put the socials there for nothing. But anyway, there's quite a bit to talk about today. We've just jumped on this fine evening because there has just been a brand new update released in GRAN TURISMO 7. And there's quite a bit in there. I would say it's one of the best updates we've had since the game was released. So there was quite a bit in there. Will we start with like a quick review of the patch notes? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I reckon that's the go.
Yep.
Alright, I probably should have got those ready to go before we started, but
I was
thankfully
just thinking that myself too. I was
thankfully I can
someone's gotta
access
have
it quite quickly. Here we go.
While you guys try and find the patch notes, I can cover the real low-hanging fruit. Obviously, we have 3 new cars coming to the game. The Ford 1932 Ford Roadster or Coupe or whatever you want
It's
to
like
call
one
it.
of the first Ford cars ever made, wasn't it?
A hot rod, yep. We have the Monster Tajima Suzuki Escudo, obviously iconic in the Gran Turismo franchise. And we have the Suzuki Vision Gran Turismo Group 3. And obviously we'll talk a bit more in depth about those cars at the moment. Watkins Glen International Raceway, which...
Big surprise.
Nobody saw that
I was very
coming.
surprised to see that. I just laid in bed last night to go to sleep and I got the notification on my phone for the new trailer. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's almost like it was waiting for me.
Yeah, yep.
There's a long course. There's a long course and a short course as well.
Long course and
One
a
of
short
them
course.
cuts out a chicane, doesn't it? It's like Fuji, long and short. There's like 2 less corners or something.
Cuts out the boot.
Oh,
Cuts
really?
out the little extra bit, yeah. So the smaller track, I believe, is used for like NASCAR, I think, and then the longer bit is used for like IndyCar and what else have they had there?
Wait, do the NASCARs have to turn right?
I know,
Whoa.
right?
That's revolutionary.
What the heck?
How do they manage, bro?
So some of the smaller stuff that's been added, there's a new Scapes location. No points for guessing what it is. Watkins Glen. So there's a whole bunch of new Scape locations there with which to photograph your cars. So there's some new menu books.
Which we've already completed.
I was going to say, a bit of an interesting choice because 99% of the players likely already have the cars for their menu books.
I actually find the introduction of menu books with cars as the rewards a bit weird. A bit late. Like, I
That's
feel
the
like
requirement, you mean?
Hey.
Well, reward and requirement. I mean, if you don't have the cars yet, you'll earn them.
Yeah, I mean,
book,
like
yeah.
by this stage of the game, a lot of these cheaper cars, most of the players would already have. So I
Well,
find it a bit.
one of the cars that you had to collect was the AE86 Trueno, which I believe you actually win in a previous menu book.
Oh,
Well,
no,
it's
that's-
included in a menu book.
I think that might be the Corolla Levin because you got to remember there's the two different versions. But hey, we'll
Might
have
be
to
a couple different
we'll
ones.
have to fact check that one. Interesting too. One of the rewards is a 6-star menu ticket. Now the interesting thing about this 6-star menu ticket, I mean, us three Atom and I at least just redeemed it. 100% chance of getting an engine swap. So that's.
Yeah, we both got garbage engines, didn't we?
We both got. I got. Well, I mean, I can't really say garbage because obviously I'm a Nissan guy. So to get an SR20 DET out of a Silvia, interesting choice, but I don't know yet what I can put it into. I think it's the 180SX for memory, which wouldn't. It's not the most exciting.
Just
engine
makes it a
swap.
200SX. Like,
Yeah. Like
and then I'm the one that sits here with the unpopular opinion. I am not that excited by engine swaps because I don't really care.
I don't think that's unpopular. I think that's a fairly relevant opinion. I also don't get that excited by them.
No.
I kind of like the idea of throwing crazy shit in, but the fact that you get an engine and then they give you like you've got one car you can put in it. It's not really an engine swap. They just put a 787B swapped RX-7 in the game, but you can only get it if you get a 6-star roulette ticket and you get the engine specified and you've bought the car. That's it. Yeah, there's no, you know what I mean?
It's almost like they say, "Oh, look, there's engine swaps," but then they make it so difficult to actually get it.
Yeah, not only that, if you do throw an engine in a car and you've already modified that car, then you lose everything you put on it already.
Oh God, see, I just can't see myself doing an engine swap.
Admittedly, some of the like the Beetle, for example, you can Porsche engine swap a Beetle, and obviously the 787B RX-7, like you've said, that sort of thing is cool. I like that because it breathes new life into, like, I mean, the Samba bus, for example. You would never race the Samba bus on stock. You know, like you could max tune.
You say that, but we literally have.
No. But well, yes. But what I'm saying is, you can maximum tune the Samba bus, and it can only go so far. But once you put a Porsche engine in it, and it's got like 400 horsepower, all of a sudden it's a bit more viable.
That is a decent point.
For example, one of my good mates, TM Lapwing, has won the daily race A this week, which was 450 pp. Anything goes, and he actually came second in the Samba bus, which would never happen if you couldn't put a Porsche engine in it. So.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Look, I can see the appeal of that sort of thing, but then what comes to my mind is that if we were to do a race, it'd be the 3 people worldwide that have won the engine by chance.
That's true. There are definitely ways it could have been better implemented. Like, I mean, you see, for example,
engine shop could have been an engine shop. That would have been a lot better.
All of the engines have and all the tuning parts for that matter have like a recommended retail price. Like, I think the 787B engine is like $900,000. So why can't I just pay $900,000 and get a 787B engine? What's stopping me? Oh wait, it's a roulette ticket system. So
you gotta win it, mate.
I don't know.
That 787B engine as well. Like, I agree with the old Beetle and the Samba bus being able to have like a 300, 400 horsepower engine put in to make them like drivable at the standard of like a modern car. You can drive them at like a reasonable speed and not top out your 4th gear. Going 100 k's an hour. But where it gets problematic is when you got a 787B engine and you've put it in an RX-7 and you're trying to drive it and it is just ridiculous. I don't remember how much power it is, but it's like 700 or 800 or something, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You can't.
But are you like wheel spinning in 50 or something?
You're wheel spinning all the time. Obviously you can put better tyres on it, but the car is just not built for it, you know? It just doesn't work.
I suppose for that regard, I mean, obviously the 787B engine is a prototype race car. It's a very purpose-built engine. In that regard, I suppose it wouldn't be a bad thing to maybe, I don't know, use a power limiter and actually rein it in a little bit and make it manageable. And obviously there's got to be a bit of tuning involved as well. I mean, you can't just put a 787B engine in the RX-7 and then run it. You know, you're going to need to obviously reinforce the suspension, make it a bit stiffer, make it a bit more, point and turn. So, yeah.
And improve the brakes.
Have you guys seen, there was a video floating around the internet years ago. It was at Monza, and I think it was a camera set up around like the exit of Parabolica, and you had like Porsche, like an Audi, nice ones like RS7, 911, all that, and then there was just a Samba bus that went like passing them both on the outside. And
I haven't seen the video, no.
That one was genuinely Porsche swapped too. It was really funny. It was just like this, sleek Porsche.
Following
sleek
for those
Audi,
cars out there.
And then a big boxy old Samba bus. So yeah. You do see a lot of like...
Well, yeah, have you got the patch notes up now, Smok?
Yes, I do. Patch notes raring and ready to go. Okay, so overall, it's the cars and the tracks we spoke about. So we'll get more in depth with those in a minute. And the menu books, yes. Something that I find particularly interesting is that the Sport Mode online time trials now have a bronze, silver, and gold rewards, which they've never had. They never had that in GT Sport either. It was just plain bragging rights, basically. But they've got that now. They've actually given you an incentive to do the online time trial. I haven't seen the rewards myself, but do we know what they are yet?
It's money. I think it's a quarter of a million for bronze, and I think it's like $1 million for silver, 2 million for gold. I can't remember what the times are though.
The
Because
percentages are the top 3% for gold. I think it was top. It might have been 4% for
Top
silver
5%
and
silver,
5% for bronze. I can't remember exactly what it was.
I think
It might have been a
Was
bit
it
more
top 10?
generous at the bottom.
Top 10% for bronze?
I think it might have been top
sounds
10%
about right,
and
yeah.
5% for silver, but I know gold was 3%.
Yeah.
The interesting
And
thing
it
about
pays you out at the end of the 2-week period. The time trial is up. We did confirm that as well.
the interesting thing about the way they've implemented it too is that because Gran Turismo 6 had the same thing. So Gran Turismo 6 had seasonal events, and they were basically like daily races and stuff, except they were all offline. They were, they had. We're going back a few years now. They had an easy race that you could do against the AI, a medium race, a hard race. Then they had some drift trials, so obviously all the drifters could win some prizes and earn some money. But then they also had a time trial, I'm pretty sure. But the difference between that time trial and these and they all had online leaderboard rankings and stuff. The main difference was that the bronze, silver, and gold times were like that they were fixed, so they weren't based on percentages of the leaderboard.
Oh yeah, okay. So like gave you a target time.
Yeah, so you could beat the gold time and earn, I don't know, $2 million or whatever the prize money was, but you'd still be like 10,000th, in the rankings.
Yeah.
Because obviously, so many people were. They weren't overly difficult. Like, I mean, obviously, 10-year-old, 11-year-old me was able to beat them. But yeah, it was like Atom said. Rather than getting the reward at the end of the event, you got it as soon as you golded the time or as soon as you silvered the time or whatever. So
I think.
Yeah,
I think
it's interesting that they've implemented it in a way that's it's a competitive thing now. Like how the time trial kings, shall we say, now have something to fight for.
Yeah, I think the way they've implemented it here is the right way. Have it as a sort of percentage within the top time. It sort of just rewards those that actually achieve the limit or achieve close to the limit or whatever, instead of just some arbitrary time that they chose. I mean, we see in like license tests and stuff, like obviously not everybody is going to find every single one quite easy, but I would say the gold times in general we see are pretty achievable, or reasonably so. And I think GT Sport was kind of a bit of a standout. I found those gold times very lenient, very
GT Sport was
they were generous.
They were very generous. So yeah, I think if they were going to go down the set times, it was probably going to be a similar problem where most people could probably achieve the gold, or maybe not most people, but a larger than proportionally correct number of people achieving that gold time. As Nismo said, it's now turned it into a more competitive thing, which I think I like it. I'm going to jump on and have a go now, because if I can get 2
it gives
million
you so
credits out
much
of
more incentive to jump into the time trials.
Exactly,
Yeah,
it's good stream content too.
Absolutely. And the other minor change about the way the sport mode menu has been presented is now you have your like ranks and stuff displayed at the top. So you've got your PSN ID with DR, your SR, but now you've also got stuff like how many races you've done, top 5 finishes, and your wins, all that sort of stuff displayed right there. So there's going to be there's going to be like not a hierarchy, but an extra sort of layer of brag. My name is R4M _Smokescreen. I've done 500 races and I've won 450 of them, and I've got all these gold medals.
Look at me. I'd
Just
like
a vanity
to meet
thing,
that.
though. I don't think
I'd
anybody
like
else
to
can
meet
see
that guy.
it.
Oh no!
Or
But
can they on your profile?
Well,
I think they can on your profile. Hang on,
that's
I think
that's a good question.
I think it's here. Yeah, my page. The following items have been added to profile in my page: number of top 5 finishes, number of gold record, silver record, and bronze record.
Even so, you're going to see people on like Twitter or on Reddit or on like GT Planet, or the people are going to be sharing those screenshots because, like I said, they're going to want to brag about how good, how good they are. Look at me go! Even if people like Turismo Leicester come to mind, I mean, good lord, how many wins is he going to have already? So.
A lot. And then sort of, for some reason, it's separate. I'm looking at the patch notes, by the way. It says the following items have been added to profile my page. Top 5 finishes, gold, silver, bronze, online time trial results, and then a separate dot point underneath. Fix the calculation method for the following stats under the sport category in profile in my page. Pole positions, races, and victories. So I think that makes it sound like it was already there, but it was wrong.
Quite possibly. And obviously
they fixed it.
Obviously, we'll get more clarification. We'll get more clarification in days gone by. Some of the more silly changes, and I mean, obviously, we're still yet to talk about the cars themselves, and obviously Watkins Glen, but some of the more, less asked for, but like they did it anyway, changes are horns are back, car horns.
Yeah, I'm glad they added horns to road cars instead of fixing the netcode. That was a really good
Yeah. Priorities.
Oh,
I love being able to honk at the AI aggressively while I'm trying to get by.
Admittedly, it is a pretty cool feature to add, but like it's one of those unnecessary things.
It's one of those. It's one of those ones. I bet you. It's probably more for the people that like do the role play. Like you've seen it before.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Tokyo lobbies and.
You can't turn your sirens on and off though.
Well, that'll come in the next.
I wonder if you could.
That'll be
maybe if you can turn the safety car lights off, then that'll be a good.
Has anyone
addition.
tested it?
Well,
nah, but I'm sure we'd know.
Yeah. But that's 1.18 Atom is the ability to turn sirens on and off. The other one, and this is one for all you chase cam guys out there. You can now rotate your camera around the car 360 like you can in like Project Cars or Forza or Grid or literally any other
any reputable racing game on a console.
Any other game that features a car, you can do that. And now Gran Turismo have finally in 2022 caught up in that regard. So
we did have that feature in like bumper cam and stuff. You could look around the car, but you couldn't see the car, and you couldn't do that in chase cam. So they have made a pretty major change.
Actually, I tell you what,
that's the only flaw in an otherwise flawless car. Yeah, you can do a perfect 360, but you can't see the car. Something wrong with this.
I tell you what, something that I found out recently. I think GT Sport Beta allowed you to look around your car. I
heard someone say that as well, actually.
I think I saw a clip of a Lotus Elise in GT Sport, and the camera was looking around.
I do remember looking around,
and then in the full game, obviously you couldn't, and then in GT7 you couldn't until today.
History has been made.
I wonder why they decided to do that now, though. Like of all,
again, one of those things that nobody asked for.
It almost makes it feel like that it was supposed to be in from the get-go, but they just forgot about it, or like deactivated it, or someone just forgot to press the execute button on it or something, and then someone at the office last week found out, and they're like,
oh crap, that was my job. Yeah. Obviously.
Oh no, chase cam 360s.
Obviously, we can't joke too much. Like, we joke about, they did this instead of fixing the lobbies. They did this instead of... I don't think we can joke about that just yet, because we haven't had... obviously, at the time of recording, the update's only been live for like an hour. None of us have actually done any like lobby racing or FIAs or anything yet, so it might be better. Who knows? But
it's funny you bring up the lobbies, because I think there has been a couple of changes in this update.
This is the big one. Here we go. This is something that people are actually asking for.
Oh, hang on. I bloody closed the patch notes.
Well,
here we go. It's all good.
I can say it. I don't even need the patch notes in front of me.
Oh, rightio. Okay.
You can change the lobby settings without exiting the lobby and making a new lobby.
Oh my god. Look at that bloody... Nismo's having an exorcism.
When you finish the race and then you're about to go change your lobby settings, you get a black screen. So it doesn't matter anyway. No, that's a big change, and that's something that a lot of people, when the game first came out, it was just like, why is this not in the game? This makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm relieved that it's back, like, I don't want to get too happy about it because PD don't deserve for me to be happy about it. Like, it should have been there. But
it was a step backwards.
It is now. Yeah, it was a step backwards.
We talked about this. I think it was the first or the second. It was the one that the episode that we made just after GT7 came out. It was like our first 2 weeks, right? And we were complaining about all this sort of thing, and we were talking about, oh man, it's such a back step, two steps back sort of thing. The problem is that because Gran Turismo 7 is presented so similarly to GT Sport, it's really easy to forget that it's actually a different game from the ground up. Like, they didn't just copy paste all the like functionality and stuff from GT Sport. They just decided to make it seem very similar, which maybe that's the downfall. Maybe they should have made the menus look different, make the HUD look different, so that everyone's like, okay, this is a different game, we're starting from... But because it's so similar, I mean, all they did to the HUD was add a rain meter. As far as
having sport mode and lobbies the way that they do, they have one mode in the game called sport mode where there's online racing, and then you've got lobbies where you can race with your mates. Like, that particular layout and format is a very effective layout, and you can see why they stuck with that from Gran Turismo Sport to GT7. Like, it makes total sense. They just made a hash of it when they obviously they didn't transfer anything over because, like you say, it was a whole new build. And the lobbies were made completely from scratch, basically. But they missed some very crucial and seemingly like unmissable details about the lobbies when they created them. So it was very questionable, and nobody really understood why. But they're changing some things and fixing some things. Hopefully, the net coding is next.
I would say it's a good sign that we're starting to see some changes. There's other changes too as well. The variable time speed rate can now be changed from 10 times to 30 times. So I think that's the rate at which the time of day changes.
Yep.
Added refueling speed option in the race settings in lobby and custom races.
I like that. That's a big one. That's something we never had in sport mode as well.
The correct road wetness will now be automatically applied if custom weather is selected from the time weather options in lobby.
So can you no longer change the percentage of moisture on track at spawn?
I don't know. It just says correct road wetness. That's quote unquote.
Yeah, I didn't play with the weather enough to know what that means because there's something
the lobbies didn't work.
It basically means that when you choose light rain, you spawn onto the track with 20% on your rain meter because it's been light raining and it is light raining instead of it being dry and the rain starting as the lobby boots itself up. So but they did have moisture on track surface at opening or whatever it was called. And that was kind of, I believe that was how you were supposed to do it. You set to light rain, but you can have it having just poured down and put 100% moisture on the track.
But on the flip side, you can do zero. The weather's sunny, but the track's really wet, it's just finished raining. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's another thing that's been added that I don't think many people are talking about yet because we haven't sort of looked into it, but I happen to think this is particularly interesting. A steering controller settings option has been added to the controller's menu. This menu can be used to check connected steering wheel controllers and adjust related input values. Pedal sensitivity can also be adjusted from pedal calibration.
Now that sounds big. I don't know exactly what it means because we haven't looked into it. But it sounds like the sort of stuff that you do on your PC before you plug your wheel into your console. It does,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
I happen to struggle sometimes with the throttle sensitivity. I sometimes find myself sort of not taking into account just how sensitive it is. So it might pay for someone like me to reduce that sensitivity and maybe give myself, I don't know. I actually didn't go into the setting and have a look at it.
I'm going to have a quick look now while we're chatting and see if I find anything.
Yeah.
But,
fair enough.
It does sound there's always been very minimal adjustment you can make with the wheels in Gran Turismo. You can change your force feedback torque, you can change the sensitivity, and that's it. You can map your buttons.
Yeah,
that's all you can do. You can't create dead zones. You can't change your pedal sensitivity at all. I don't believe you can mess with like the degrees of rotation.
I don't think you can. I think it matches.
So, no.
It matches the cockpit. Like if you go into cockpit cam and turn your wheel, the guy in your car turns it at the same rate.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A bit of tidbit of information there.
Very
But yeah, the
green.
pedal calibration will be interesting. I'll be curious to see how it works because I think
I have to connect my wheel
at
to
the
do it.
moment, what
Connect
do
your
we
wheel,
see? Yeah,
There's a
that'll
new
help.
box that says steering controller settings, and it's got an image of a foot on a pedal and arrows pointing like back and forth. So like
Yeah.
push and let off, which I presume is for your sensitivity.
Because what's the pedals? What are the pedals like at the moment? Is it like you get a lot of travel in the first bit of it, and then it really ramps up, like it's non-linear?
Well, you got
Is
your
that how it
degrees of
works?
rotation,
Oh,
and you can click pedal calibration.
and what happens?
You can check your inputs on percentages. I don't know what the pedal calibration does.
Okay.
But
So you can
yeah,
basically-
and you
you
can
can
change
basically
gears as
find
well.
out.
You can check if your gears are working as well.
So you can
So
basically find out
pretty
if your
good,
brake,
eh?
if your brake
It
pedals
is
are
good.
doing like
I think-
96%, then yeah.
You can recalibrate them, but generally, like this is all stuff that I don't think it's like necessary, because if your pedals were having problems, you'd unplug your wheel and plug it back in and let it do its recalibration. Because Nismo, we actually talked about this the other day. You didn't realize that when your wheel spins to do its calibration, you can't touch it because
Yeah.
it'll throw it off. It'll mess up the calibration. What you also can't do is touch the pedals because while the wheel is turning, your pedals are also calibrating. So if you touch the pedals, you'll also have
I've
a
fallen
problem.
victim to that. I've
did.
fallen victim to that.
We did talk about that, and yeah, you're exactly right. Like, I mean, why do we need it? Because if we were having problems, like you say, we'd unplug and plug it back in. It takes like 5 seconds. It's all good, you know. Are we really that impatient and like that meticulous that we need options? I don't know. We've lasted this long without it, so I don't quite see the reasoning for it. But hey,
Yeah, there you
there'll
go. I
always
think
be-
that's
there'll
the
always
bottom
be-
line.
Yeah, there'll always be those like.
The pedal calibration is to set dead zones. Yeah,
Okay, so
So you
Right.
can set dead zones.
Right.
dead zones. Yeah.
I'll tell you what that'll be good for.
So it's got your
If you've got-
minimum and your maximum input basically. So where your 100% is on your press.
Yeah, I'll tell you what that'll be good for. That'll be good for those with Logitech pedals that are a bit dodgy, you know? Like if your brake is dragging a tiny bit or you don't quite get up to 100% throttle when you push it all the way down.
As long as the
Thank you.
Logitech supports this calibration,
Surely,
I would hope that it would.
it's in the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
hope so. Because it's not specific to wheels; it's a separate setting.
It's probably more to do with the game adjusting the input that is received rather than actually changing the input.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So you can do it on your PC, and then you can do it on the game again,
Yeah.
yeah.
basically.
So
But I don't know, we'll have to see, won't we?
is that all the major changes? Because I've sort of
As far as I can
patch notes.
As far as I can, I mean, there's like a little one adjusted the speed of certain hybrid cars when they ran out of fuel. Like
I don't even know what that
I
actually
don't even know
means.
what that means.
I'm wondering if that's maybe to do with like hybrid cars, like the LMP cars, right? When the battery runs out, obviously the hybrid system's not. Maybe they're buffing the. You've run out of battery, but obviously it's still. You still have fuel, so you're still racing. Yeah, maybe they've like buffed so that you don't lose too much speed without the hybrid. You know what I mean?
Oh, the non-hybrid speed, right?
non-hybrid speed.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it says when they ran out of fuel. It doesn't say
Yeah.
hybrid or
but
battery.
It sounds
So
like
that-
it's the other way, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't really
like-
understand what the hybrid cars have that's so special that makes them need to be changed.
I don't think any of us have really driven the hybrid cars. We literally haven't had a reason to in the game yet.
Also, it's when they ran out of fuel. If any good racer is not going to run out of fuel anyway,
Oh,
so
exactly. The easiest way to avoid the loss of speed from running out of fuel is to simply not run out of fuel in the first place.
Drive faster, same Same energy.
Same energy,
Just
yeah.
save
And then that's kind of it. Just a little GT Auto livery adjustment for a couple of cars, and the sound on the Ford GT LM race car Spec 2.
I want to go back
of course,
quickly before we continue on. I want to just quickly go back to you can in the lobbies you can now change the fuel refuel rate, which I think is huge because obviously all leagues can then run a different sort of refuel rate. Smock, you've always been a big campaigner of pit stops being what's the word you use?
The pit stop length is not proportional to the length of the races.
So you can increase the refuel rate for a short race so that it refuels very quickly and decrease it for a long race.
I think that's good. That's a step in the right direction, but they need to reduce that time between
at the moment,
when you enter the pits and when it appears in the pit box.
It's set to like 2 or 3 litres per second by default in lobbies.
Okay.
And it's so slow, man. Like back on sport in FIA, we would refuel at 7 litres a second. And we're now doing 3 litres a second. It just takes forever.
Actually, that's something I noticed when watching World Tours. They would refuel
slow it down
slowly.
Yep.
Because they were 3 litres a second.
Yep. They changed it to 3 litres a second for the World Tour events. I'm not sure why, but they did. I guess to make it more of a fuel save.
Probably to throw in a little extra like layer of strategy for those guys for like the top of the top.
Even with 3 litres a second, though, Miyazono still made the Dragon Trail Seaside strategy work, where he stopped an extra time and refueled and wasn't saving fuel.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolute madman.
Absolute big brain play. Let's talk a little bit more about the meat of this update, the new cars
absolutely.
and the new track.
Let's get into it.
What car do we want to talk about first?
Let's go with
Escudo.
the big one, the big one.
Suzuki Escudo.
So, what people don't realise, I mean, obviously it's a bit pointless talking about this because obviously by the time the episode comes out, everyone will probably own the Escudo, but right here, right now, the only way we can drive it is in the aforementioned online time trial, which is at the Alsace little road course that they've got going on there. Just impressions, it's very edgy car to drive, isn't it?
What's the horsepower figure, do we know?
983, I think it was, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It's high 900s.
That's quite large.
Yeah, basically, and we looked at the power curve, Nate?
But the power curve is basically goes like this and just goes up like that.
It's like those exponential graphs you learn about in high school. You remember those? They like start out flat and then they just and then it just kind of peters off at the top. But
that's the amount. Yeah. That's the amount of subs that Smokescreen has at the moment. It's sort of like that, and then he just gets real popular like that.
Yes, thank you.
Smokescreen or the Trackside Lounge? I don't know.
Yes, actually,
it's a race now.
What we don't see is that x-axis is probably in a period of about 15 years. But hey, got to start somewhere.
Hey, Smoke, if the Trackside Lounge gets to 500 subs, does that count for your face reveal, or does it have to be your channel? Like,
it has to be my channel.
But Trackside Lounge technically is your channel, is it not? I mean...
I guess technically...
I don't know.
You have to get my main channel to 500, okay?
We're talking. Yeah, we're talking. Just you don't know, mate. You don't know.
We've got to get there first.
But
yeah, obviously, it's really quite a big deal. This car being added because it was quite the legend back in the older Gran Turismo games.
Much loved by many. I can't say I fall into that category.
For all the wrong reasons, and the reason I say wrong is because obviously Gran Turismo being a simulator for a car to be popular because you can do like 1,000,000 kilometers an hour. that's kind of a little bit contradictory. But now that we've got, because the test track in Gran Turismo 3 was, I think it was a 10-kilometer oval from memory, and now you've got Route X where one of the straights is like 12 kilometers. So that's going to be very interesting. If someone can find out a max
speed,
someone
can fly off the bridge. Someone can fly off the bridge.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't be like the Tomahawk. I reckon you could knock a load of downforce off the Escudo.
People have already done crazy stuff with the Tomahawk. You guys saw Noodles' video.
Oh, yeah, true.
That's true. There's always
if that's anything to go off, the Escudo is going to be mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'll only be a matter of time before clips like that start appearing.
Oh,
It'll be
Twitter and stuff.
Someone's gonna go look for the YouTube content. I bought it's gonna happen within the first couple of days of it being released. I bought the Suzuki Escudo to check if I could do the 1 million kilometer an hour glitch. Or like Easter egg, Gran Turismo 7 put this in the game and didn't think you'd notice.
Easter egg.
Mark, if you want to get to 500 subs, you got to get onto it, mate.
That's the kind of stuff I have to do. I know. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
It'll be
So
Mr. MCA. He'll find it.
Yeah. Oh, I hope he's doing okay. I know he's taken a bit of a step back lately.
Yeah.
He's pretty active on Twitter today, so it's good that he's still in the scene.
I saw him join a party chat earlier today as well, so I know he's still doing things, but
I don't think he just doesn't feel like making videos at the moment.
The man's a big grinder. He puts so much time and effort into those videos. He truly deserves a break, and probably sorely needs one.
It's one of those ones. No one can blame him. No one can. I mean,
No.
His Suzuki.
No one's mad about it. Not a single person is mad about it. You know.
No.
I've always been saying, if PD really want to sort of help with the PR, they should really be. They could pay Mr. MCA to make the track guides because they're just that good. If they really want people to go, all right, this is the next round coming up. Let's show people how to do it. And then there's this YouTuber guy that's really good at it. Let's just pay him and advertise him.
Well, I tell you what, they did that. They did do that with World Tour drivers. They had a lap guide thing that they sort of went through. It wasn't the same. No.
It was always combinations that we'd never have. Like, I remember Tichney did one with the Pagani Zonda around Catalonia. It's like, well, what combination was that? That track guide is not useful to me.
It's still a Catalonia lap guide, but I know Kenny Conamos did a Jag Group 3 at Bathurst. So that one was fair enough.
Super GT did one at Fuji. I don't even remember what car.
I was just going to say Super GT did one as well. You know, and
they need to get Mr. MCA doing that. I reckon that he would be the perfect person to get him in there.
Because he's good at what he does. He's good at what he does.
He is. The trouble would be that he has a particular way. He's just like all his track guides are the same kind of layout. You know, like the video just follows the same flow all the way through. Yeah. But if he had to do one for PD in one of their rigs in front of their cameras, he has to do like a track walk, like you, Smok, like what you've done in the past. You do a little track walk, like 40, 50 kilometers an hour around the track, and like hit the brakes and come to a stop when you're near a brake marker, and like talk about what you're looking at and stuff, and then come back and then do a medium speed lap and then do a fast lap. That's what their system was. I don't know if I don't know how comfortable Mr. MCA would be doing that, because that's not how he runs.
So what I'm hearing now is that you reckon they should be paying me to do it.
Yeah, I do. I think you do a great job, mate.
Oh dear, let's get back on track, eh?
Getting it back to the Escudo. Obviously, one of the questions that we had in the lead up to its release was, of course, is it going to be Group B? Because I mean, obviously, it would be the most powerful Group B car by far. As far as we can tell at the moment, it doesn't appear to be categorized, and all I can say to that at the moment is fair enough, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of a push, even putting the Quattro, the Pikes Peak Quattro, in the game.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but I mean,
I feel like it should be categorized with the Pikes Peak Quattro. Like they fall in the same kind of category, you know.
Like they do.
Is the Quattro quite like nerfed to fit in Group B?
I think it's got a power drop,
nerfed?
but it's got more power than everything else. I think it did in sport, but it was heavy and has no aero, and its wheelbase makes for poor handling.
I think it's got a lot of weight, like with Bop, I think it's got a lot of weight added, because stock, I think it's only like 500 horsepower, 1,000 kilos. It's a very clean number, but then obviously with the Bop, it's like 1,200 and something. Because most of the Group B cars are like sort of sitting at sort of 1,150 to like 12. I think nearly 1,300 is like one of the heaviest Group B cars, but again, it's just such a not so used class that I don't really think they care too much about getting
The
teared on.
bop is not considered
Nah, it's
too
not
much in
good.
Group B.
It's like
even though they
like
like to
the-
use it in World Series events, they don't
it's
really
like
go hard on the
the
bop.
it's like the GT Sport Group 4 oval bop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Basically, if you
Actually-
want to win a Group B race, just use the Focus or use the WRX and call it a day.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
So,
Okay, well, there's other cars as well. I would say they're maybe not quite as hyped as the Escudo. I would say the next one is probably the Suzuki VGT Group 3.
I'm pretty hyped for
Which-
the VTT Group
I
3.
like-
I know Atom was particularly hyped, but there's a couple of implications surrounding that. So obviously, it now, it had previously, like upon release, a Group 4 Suzuki, the Suzuki Swift Group 4, the little front-wheel drive hot hatch. But it does mean that now there's a Group 3 and a Group 4 Suzuki. So it could have come to manufacturers, and we happen to think that the answer is yes.
So yes. The interesting thing about the Suzuki too, I don't know if you've looked at it yet, Smock, but the road car featured a Hayabusa motorbike engine and 2 electric motors. This Group 3 one does away with the hybrid motors, and it is a V8.
Very nice. Very nice.
8 out of 2 Hayabusas, no less.
The old
absolutely mental.
double Hayabusa.
The old V8, two Hayabusas merged at the crank. And
Does that engine
Jeez.
actually exist? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
But I know the Hayabusa exists, but is there a V8 Hayabusa on a motorbike?
It's one of those things, like, it's not it's kind of like the Sil 80. It's not an official, like, Suzuki backed thing, but I know more than a few people have done it. But it'll be like dirt track cars or, like, shed projects or that sort of thing. But I know that at least, I've heard of it. It's not an uncommon. It's uncommon, but it's not like ever been done before. Wow, this is pioneering. So yeah.
Well, it's got its V8, which is like a displacement of like 3.8 litres. So it's not particularly large. I think it might be 3.6 or 3.8. And it still revs to about 10,000 RPM if memory serves. And it has 2 turbos. So they've replaced the sort of hybrid power with turbo power. So now you're dealing with turbo lag, very similar to a lot of other cars in Group 3. And it's also, of course, FR instead of being 4-wheel drive like the road car is.
Is it FR or MR?
FR. It's
Okay.
The engine is in the front. I don't know if the road car engine's in the front. I think it is.
Hard to tell because the road car's counted as 4-wheel drive and they don't tell you where the engine is. It's like
They did talk about it though. I'm sure they talked about it, but I can't remember.
I'd have to have a look, but yeah, that's another thing that I was talking with our good mate Matthew McEwen, and that's one of the things that irks him is that the 4-wheel drive cars don't tell you, because like you've got 4-wheel drive cars where the engine's in the front, then you got 4-wheel drive cars where the engine's in the back, and you have no way of knowing. Like it's up to you to sort of learn which
Do
is
your
which.
research.
Yeah.
I think
hope that it's mentioned in the blurb about the car.
Yeah.
I think what I have found, like in general in the car industry, is that if they're really wanting to go into specifics about the engine layout, but it is a 4-wheel drive, they'll put, like, instead of how we see in Gran Turismo, like FR, MR, and then 4WD, they will say like F4 or something, or M4 or R4 if that exists,
okay.
which is like front 4-wheel drive or mid 4-wheel drive or rear 4-wheel drive. So I happen to see that notation, but obviously Gran Turismo do not use that, but it would probably be quite helpful if they did, for this exact reason.
Well, as far as the Suzuki VGT goes, as well as obviously having the Suzuki Group 4, now that we've got a Group 4 and a Group 3 and people are talking about manufacturers, it's not in manufacturers yet, and there's no announcement as to whether it will be, but most people suspect that it will, for reasons such as that you can sort your manufacturers for, I think it's like points on the website.
Yeah,
you can find Suzuki there. But if you were to go sign up for the manufacturer series now in the current season, you would not be able to pick Suzuki because it's just not there. So I suspect
yes, we have checked that.
It'll be next stage. So we're currently 2 rounds away from the end of the current season at the time of recording. At the end of that round, we'll probably, or possibly before the end of that round, we'll probably get a bulletin telling us about Suzuki coming to the manufacturer series as a partner, of course, because every new manufacturer ends up being a partner for some reason. I don't know. So we're going to have 5 partner manufacturers, counting Subaru, because they're unofficially a partner. Let's be real. And yeah, so we'll hopefully have... I hope we get Suzuki. I know it'll make it 27 manufacturers.
7, I think, yeah, 27.
Yeah. It's a lot of manufacturers.
We'll have a lot of manufacturers, but I like it. I like it. So I'm pretty keen.
I do like the big variety as well, because normally you jump into like a daily race, and if it's open Group 3, everyone's normally in the Subaru or like there's a meta car basically. So I think
right now it's the Toyota, funnily enough.
Oh, is it? Right.
Yep.
The recent BOP update has shaken things up a little.
7 kilometers an hour faster than the Subaru down what's the Kemmel Straight at Spa.
Good grief.
10 kilometers an hour faster than the Lexus, which I tested.
Goodness me.
That's a bit,
yeah.
It's ridiculous, man.
Oh,
they
need to sort it out, don't they?
Yep.
I've lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, it's good that we have the daily races where there's normally a meta car that everybody's in, but then you get the manufacturers where people will choose completely different manufacturers, and you could potentially get a grid with 16 different cars in it.
Yeah.
Which I think it's good to see. And the Suzuki VGT, I think, and I hope, that it becomes a very healthy addition to the manufacturer's series. Of course, if it jumps in and it's really, really OP, and then all of a sudden everyone's in Suzuki, then, maybe that's not quite what we're after. But I think as long as it's balanced reasonably, given the current state of things, then it'll be completely fine.
I do like the idea of, like, because when the manufacturer series was first announced, like GT Sport, way back before we knew anything about how the championships were like getting implemented, I suppose. I always used to think that the manufacturer series was going to be, the matchmaking was going to be in such a way so that you would have one Nissan, one Honda, one Ferrari, and it was actually going to be a manufacturer rather than just, matchmaking with people of your skill, which obviously getting match made by skill is a lot better than match made by, one of every, like a 50%
CR per manufacturer. Yeah.
But
be an interesting concept to follow, but yeah,
it would be, but because one of the other games that I play that isn't Gran Turismo, wait, that's illegal, is Apex Legends, right? And Apex Legends has like 16 characters, right? There's 16 characters you can, or thereabouts, that you can play as. But because the matches have like 62 players, there's basically 100% chance in every game that there's going to be double ups or even triple ups, or sometimes, so like it'll be like 3 or 4 of the same character with the same abilities with the same, So you don't get that in manufacturers, obviously, because there's just way more manufacturers than there are spots. So potentially, obviously, there's always going to be those races where there'll be 2 Nissans or there'll be 2 Alfa Romeos or something. But I like the variety that we're seeing. I'm still a bit confused as to, well, not confused, but like Bugatti has been waiting for a Group 3 much longer than Suzuki, and they're
just sort of left out a bit, aren't they?
It's just not going to happen. But they're always going to prioritise Japanese manufacturers in that way.
Yeah, they will.
That's true. Suzuki's been on an absolute resurgence in this game, hasn't it? Because we've gone from having,
absolutely,
like, in sport you had the Swift.
Yeah,
that was it.
The Road Swift, importantly.
The 2007 Suzuki Swift, right?
Yeah.
And now we've got the Swift, we've got the modern Swift, we've got the Swift Group 4, we've got the VGT, we've got the VGT Group 3, we've got the Cappuccino, we've got the Escudo. It's like...
Wow, yeah, Suzuki's probably got a bigger car roster than a lot of manufacturers that were in sport as well.
Yeah.
The only thing now is, like, now we're just waiting on the announcement. Oh, here's our new manufacturer partner, Suzuki.
Yeah, it's got to happen. Like, it must be coming. It's another Japanese brand. It will. Importantly, and as far as partner car or non-partner car, just checking the BOP for the Suzuki VGT. So the Suzuki
God,
VGT, it comes from the Brand Central with 577 horsepower and 1220 kgs. The weight's pretty normal. The power is also pretty average. For reference, the Subaru Group 3 has 573 brake horsepower versus the 577 of the Suzuki. However, when the Suzuki gets bopped, it drops 40 horsepower to 537 and increases the weight by 30 kgs to 1250.
Whoa.
So I don't think it's going to be particularly competitive.
But it is
Not on this bop anyway.
But it is a smaller car, so it might be a little bit more zippy, if that makes sense.
It depends if the weight remains. I'm just going to double check the Subaru weight, which is 1300. So the Subaru's heavier, so by 50 kgs.
Right.
So there is a bit of a weight difference there.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's is there a Group 3 daily race on at the moment?
There is. It's Spa.
Is it a? So that
It's
would be
power
okay.
track.
That would be an okay test track, though, right? You know.
Oh no, this is the track that we're talking about. The track that's the Supra is 7 kilometers an hour faster than the Subi down the main straight.
Yeah.
The leaderboard is literally Supra racing concept all the way down to number 22, where
How
there's a
heavy-
WRX.
How heavy is the regular Suzuki VGT? I think it was like 900 kilos or something, eh?
It was quite light.
No, the Group 4 is 900 kgs. I don't know about the road car.
About the regular, because 1200 and something kilos. That's packed on a lot of weight. I'm pretty sure the regular VGT was like 900, 800.
But
kilos.
most of the GT3 cars are between 12 and 1300.
Of course.
For example, the Supra GT500, let me just check for you now, is 1200 and something. I think it's 1200 on the dot. I didn't check it. I just accidentally entered the time trial. Whoops.
Isn't the McLaren?
What are you doing?
Isn't the McLaren F1 Group 3 like 1,000 kilos though?
It might be. I don't think it has the power that it used to, which is a bit of a shame.
It's also 19 million credits, so nobody has it.
Not that
I
one.
have
The
it.
Group 3 one. The Group 3 one.
Oh, okay, right. Is that a bit
long tail.
cheaper, is it?
I think
It's
that's
like 9, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
9 mil.
yeah.
That's 486 brake and 1,200 kgs. Same weight as the Toyota Castrol Supra.
Right.
From the factory, the McLaren was 1,050. So it's packed on
Yeah.
150 kgs for the BOP.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting because and again, we'll just have to wait until we get a more. What would be a suitable test track then for you to tangibly test the Suzuki and work out if it's
Something like Interlagos.
Yeah, I was
you know,
about to say Interlagos.
Just a balanced track. You know, they used to use that for the BOP testing, so that would be a reasonable place to check. Spa is just dominated by the Supras at the moment, which
Spar's a power
is
track.
probably something we should talk about. The Supra Group 3, I had this conversation with Matthew McEwen the other night as well. The Supra racing concept, that was obviously the hero car in Gran Turismo Sport, it wasn't particularly good when GT7 came out. It was pretty quick in a straight line, but it was a terrible car through the corners. So I remember driving Spa on the original BOP, and I was racing against someone. I was using I think I was using something good. I might have been using the WRX, which was like the untouchable meta at the time. And I was racing someone who was in the Supra, and I was faster than them everywhere. But then we got onto the Kemmel Straight, and they would actually pull away from me. So it was fast even then in a straight line. It just didn't handle well. But they decided that we're not gonna fix the handling. We're just gonna make it super powerful in a straight line, so that it's competitive at handling tracks. So you take it somewhere like Laguna Seca, and it's on par with normal cars. But you go to somewhere like Spa, and it just dominates because it's got such a big long straight. It's the same story for Daytona this weekend. For Manufacturers Series, which obviously people are watching this back, that'll have been run and done, and people will know that the Toyota Supra is just wildly too fast in a straight line.
Heard it here first, everybody. Heard it here first.
Look at that, Atom predicting the future.
Atom predicting
So,
the future.
yeah. I said this the other day as well. I think I said it in my Discord chat. I was like, the BOP's ridiculous, and like it wouldn't be like, if they're working on it, it shouldn't be too hard to fix it. And I was like, give me 8 hours and I'd be able to hash out a bop.
Yeah.
I'd be able to hash out a bop for Group 3, all different cars having different strengths and weaknesses. You know, I think I could do it in 8 hours, but obviously it's not going to happen because no one's going to pay me to do it. I'm not going to sit there for 8 hours, but I think it could be done. So
here's something, right? Back when sort of GT7 was just coming out, weren't we promised 3 different bops?
We were, actually. I think that was
yeah, wasn't there a power bop, a handling bop, and a oval bop or something?
Oval bop? I don't know, man.
It's a terrible idea.
But I think we were, because people talk about it, as in, where are our 3 bops?
I think right about now, Gran Turismo 7's got bigger issues than bop.
Yeah, true.
Right about now.
I guess if it can't even get 1 bop right, we've got no hope for 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hate to deviate away from the bop. I mean, I know we're talking about the bop thing, but we've kind of completely forgotten about one of the cars, because we were talking about.
I was gonna bring us back to that. I haven't forgotten. Okay. I haven't forgotten about our little Ford companion.
I thought maybe it was just such a no one.
And overshadowed big time.
Overshadowed.
No.
Massively.
We always do that. We always ebb and flow.
Ford's gonna sue Polyphony Digital.
So obviously we're talking about the 1932 Ford, right? For those wondering what we're on about. I don't know yet if it's going to be overshadowed. The reason I say that is because depending on how, obviously customization is a thing, and the 32 Ford is particularly known for obviously hot rodding. You know,
Put a V8 in it.
It built a cult following.
Do you want to do that in an American accent, mate?
You say, was that your American or?
I don't know.
So my point is, it might not necessarily be overshadowed. If anything, it might actually kick off a sort of subculture of people that buy a billion of them and then do different hot rod styles. You know, and you'll see
there's definitely
liveries are going to come first. The hot rod liveries will come first.
I know there is a big hot rodding community out there.
It does depend on what, again, customization, right? I don't know if you guys played Need for Speed 2015, but that one had a 32 Ford in it, and the amount of customization, they were, because obviously in the 30s, customizing a car was easy as, you saw people doing they chop the roof off them, or they'd do fenders on them, or they'd do flares, or they'd do all these different insane body mods. And so far with Gran Turismo, we've seen sort of one wide body mod. There's a wide body mod. There's not different types of wide bodies. There's a wide body. You either have it or you don't.
And it's just pulled guards. It's not even a bolt-on wide body.
Yeah, we got that. We got that good little animation, don't we? Of them pulling and stretching the car.
Some of them are actually the Mustang Boss that's in the Legendary Deer at the moment. That's probably got one of the nicest wide bodies, because it's actually got, you can actually see the bolted-on flares, and it's very nice. But where I'm going with that is that with Gran Turismo so far, the most body mods that you see are sort of 2 different front options, 2 different side options, 2 different rear options, and maybe some spoilers. Plus, obviously, the tow hooks, plates, all that.
Yeah.
So, if it's going to be that limited, the variety might run out quickly. I'm not expecting it to have 30 different body mods and all the different intricate details. But
I'd be interested to see what wheels you can put on it.
Yeah.
I imagine just anything. In fact, when are we going to?
I mean widths and stuff. You know how you can do wide wheels and poke the wheels out. I wonder how far they'll stick out and all that sort of thing on the Ford.
I'd love to see being able to put. I'd love to see Hoosier added as a tire sticker. That would be really nice, especially for the older muscle cars. Hoosier.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what would be cooler is if you could put your own decal on the tire.
How would they? Yeah. I mean, I want it. Don't get me wrong, but
does Michelin still sponsor the tires in GT7, or is that not?
I don't think that's an official thing at the moment.
Right.
The major sponsors are Brembo.
Yeah.
As far as
Rays,
I think it is.
I think Rays is in Brand Central.
I think it is Michelin, because when you go into Brand Central, it comes up with official
partners.
It's Brembo, Michelin, and there's one more.
I think it's Rays.
Yeah. No, BBS, isn't it?
BBS, that's right.
Oh,
you're right.
It is BBS. Okay,
BBS.
so I'm just BBS
full of crap. Are the official partner.
So they do still have Brembo backing. Brembo, Michelin. They do still have Michelin backing.
They haven't really talked about it too much.
No. Well, something I wanted to sort of touch on about that sort of customizability of this new Ford. We obviously can't see it yet because it's at the time of recording. It's not yet in the Legend dealer, which is where it is confirmed to reside. But I've got a mate at work, and he's got a Mazda Miata, and it's sort of tastefully modified, let's say. Like, it's not, like, fully slammed or whatever with all this massive crap all over it. It's just, like, reasonably modified. And I was sort of saying, like, I might have a go at trying to replicate your car in Gran Turismo 7. Couldn't do it. There's not enough custom parts. Like
what?
The rear diffuser, for lack of a better word. There's nothing that resembles the one that this my mate has sort of attached.
You mean
he's got sort of like a little.
He'll have like a lip that's the same.
Yeah, he's
colour
got a
as
little.
the
He's
car.
got a little lip underneath the back bumper. But then if you go on GT7, I think you've got like little canards, and then you've got a massive and then the next step is a massive racing diffuser. So it's like, well, that's one thing I can't do. You also can't put a roof on it.
You want it? Hard top.
Ooh, hard top.
Yeah.
But you can't do that. So my reservation there is I would worry that there are quite limited customizability options for this Ford.
I was very lucky that I was able to build my cars that I have in real life in game.
Yeah,
the Celica GT4s that I built. But they were very simple. They were just get the car, make sure it's got the right wing on it, which it does from the factory. It was a factory wing. And put the canards on it, which are, again, all factory components. Factory optional components they were. They were like packaged ones. And put the right wheels on it. And obviously I couldn't find the exact wheels, but I found ones close enough in style. Got the colours, and that was it. But I feel bad for people who... Because, I love doing that. That was so much fun. But if I had an MX-5 with a hardtop... Well, I have an MRS with a hardtop. I couldn't build that in the game. First of all, the MRS isn't even in the game, but if it was, I wouldn't be able to put a hardtop on it.
I think it's one of the... Especially with Japanese models, it's going to be one of those things you can never please everybody. I mean, dude, think about...
Without turning it into Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Well, remember Gran Turismo 6, and they had like something like 20 different MX-5 models. They had like the JDM spec, the regular spec, the European spec, the hard top, the soft top, the one that had optional wheels, the one that had a unique color. Like that for
that's
people,
a lot.
For people
that is a lot.
And Skylines. Oh, dude, everyone jokes about how many Skylines there were. So for that, in that regard, it's one of those ones. You're always going to have to cut your losses and just accept the fact that, hey, look, cars by definition are unique, and there's always going to be ones that. Like Atom, we talked earlier about the Mazda RX-8, the Spirit R, and how many of those that were made, and obviously, there's only 1,000 of them ever made, but how many of them were this color and how many of them were that color, and then there might have been that one guy that rang up Mazda and said, "Hi, I'd like a Spirit R. Can I get it in green, please?" "Oh, we don't do green." "Oh, well, let me throw money at you until you agree to make a special one-off green one." That sort of thing. It's always going to be that sort of thing. So it's customization in GT. You can always, sometimes you can get lucky and get real close to what you've got, but only if it's a very commonplace mod. Like, you notice a lot of the Japanese cars do have like you were saying, Smoke, the little like canards and the little like bumper lips and stuff. That they're sort of more vanilla but more common. It
appears that in Gran Turismo 7, modifying the exterior of the car is limited to factory optional aero, so aero kits that came from the factory as a sports option for the car, like your canards on the side of the rear bumper or the front bumper, or a lip, an aftermarket front or rear bumper that a lot of people may or may not have on their MX-5s or their cars and things like that. You simply can't get it in the game. The only aftermarket components you can get are racing components, which are things like front splitters, rear diffusers, and GT wings. The only other wings you can put on your cars are limited to either removing the wing or alternative optional ones that came from the factory for the most part. The only exception I can think of for wings that weren't a factory option are on the Skylines. You can put a Rocket Bunny lip kit or duckbill on the back.
I think the 86s you can also do a little duck bunny or a little duck tail.
Ducktail Rocket Bunny.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking of was the Rocket Bunny kit. Yeah.
There's a couple of optional ones, and like the wings again. You've got the no wing, you've got your factory wing, and then there was often there was a TRD wing, for example, that came on things like the MR2 has that, as does the Supra. The Supra had its factory wing, which was a nice round thing. This is the Mark IV, and the TRD wing was a bit more GT style, but it was all factory paint.
That spoiler. I absolutely
It's great. It's great, yeah. So they made awesome wings. So you can get those, but if you put an aftermarket wing on, unless it's GT spec, race spec, it's not in the game.
But again,
basically,
other franchises do that too. Forza, for example. I played Forza Horizon 4 very briefly for a bit through COVID and all that, and oh man. Most of the car, obviously Forza has a lot more sort of high-end hypercars and supercars and products and all that. Most of them have body customization, but it's limited. Most of the time, their front bumper mod, all of them have a front bumper mod. Some of them are you say, for the S2000, I think has bumper, and then it has some licensed body kits from Rocket Bunny and all these different kits. But for the most part, the front bumper mod is basically just a little carbon fiber lip and some front canards and a tow hook, and that's it. For cars like the Lamborghini Centenario or the Lotus GT1 and all that sort of stuff, it's very, very base. But the only upshot of installing it is that you can adjust the front aero. That's how they justify it. So yeah, customization in racing games in general, Need for Speed's basically the king, because obviously that's most of the reason you play a Need for Speed game. They
specialise in custom and less racing.
Yeah, so for a simulator like Gran Turismo, and that's kind of where sport was pretty good, was that you didn't need to worry about tuning your car. You bought the car.
You didn't.
Bought the car, slapped some tyres on it, slapped delivery on it if you really wanted to, and you're away. It was all about the racing rather than about the building. So,
and I guess that was in the name of the game title, sport, about the motorsport side of it.
Exactly.
But yeah, it will be. I will be interested to see just how different you can make these 32 Fords, because maybe you can't put the fenders on it, and that'll obviously limit how much you can customize or how different each one will look. I don't have particularly high hopes for a massive number of customizable components, but I'm always happy to be proved wrong or be disappointed, I guess.
I'd love to try and build one to make it look like that Hot Wheels car. There's that Hot Wheels car that looks like a 32, but it's got the big skull on the front. What's it called, Bone Crusher or Bone Shaker or something?
It's not like a Mad Max version of a car, is it? Or is it not?
It's just a Hot Wheels. I think it's one of their earlier models, I think, for me, because it's very iconic. Very iconic.
Yeah. Right, well, there's obviously another big thing that came in this update, and that caught all of us off guard, I think. Watkins Glen. We did touch on this briefly just before, but what do we think of it? What do we think?
Well, I've never raced Watkins Glen, and I've heard the name. I know it's a big deal. And I'm stoked that they've brought out such I don't want to call it left of field track, but it's no one expected it, and I think it's a very pleasant surprise. I'm looking forward to learning the track and setting times on it and going racing there. So should be fun.
I'm in the same boat. Never set a tyre on it. I knew it existed, and if I had seen a picture of the track map, I would be able to say, oh, that's Watkins Glen. And I know there was a lot of hype around it. Not from me in particular, because there's no motorsport category that I watch that races there. So I'm not that familiar with it. But from the small number of laps that I did just after the update came out, it seems pretty cool, and I think round 6 of the Nations Cup has been updated, and it's Group 3 at Watkins Glen. So we get to experience it in the full GT World Series glory. If you could call it that.
Do you not watch any American motorsport, Smoke?
I don't watch any American motorsport. I watch Formula 1 and supercars, and that's it.
Because
that's all I have time for.
not what don't they do enduros there as well? Like
Watkins Glen. Y'all going alone today. Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I'll sit down and put my listening ears on.
NASCAR,
cross my legs,
IndyCar, GT, Can-Am, Trans Am. Basically everything has been at Watkins Glen, and in fact, I can't remember what course it is. I think it's like their GP course or something. From like Denny Holm still holds the lap record.
Who's that?
You know, famous Kiwi guy, sort of. You know.
Oh, he's a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Yay!
Do you not know who Denny Holm is?
No.
I've not heard the name.
Is he related to Stefan?
He died at Bathurst in '92.
A bit.
It was
before my time.
Admittedly, I was not born, so I don't remember.
Okay, so he was Formula One. He was Formula One with Bruce McLaren. I believe he was one of the ones that he drove with like Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon in the Ford GT at Le Mans.
In the Le Mans team, right? Yeah. He was the other one.
He was famous. Well, I don't know if he was famous, but one of the like things that sort of characterized him was he preferred to race barefoot. He was like,
what?
Funky.
He did it in his Formula One car, like 1960s Formula One cars, and he was racing barefoot, and he was like, I can feel the throttle better. And that was his.
Hey, some sim racers drive barefoot, man. Maybe it's good in a real car too. You don't know.
I never understood it. Like,
that would not.
He's losing his feet in a crash. That's what's happening.
Well, to be fair, if you crash in a 1960s F1 car, you're dead anyway. So I mean, really, motorsport in the 60s, it was like, But anyway, getting back to Watkins Glen, I think the interesting thing for me is that it somehow managed to avoid being leaked entirely. Like
no one saw it coming, eh?
It never got teased. It never got leaked. It never got data mined. How did they? How did no one pick this up? And I'm not saying that like that's a bad thing. In fact, if anything, this was going to be my question. This was going to be my question to you guys. Do you prefer knowing about future, because like you see some games where they give you like a roadmap of all the stuff that's coming to the game in the next 12 months or whatever? Do you prefer knowing what's coming, or do you prefer literally finding out the day before?
I like not knowing, honestly.
I like not knowing.
I like the teasers that Kaz puts out, the silhouette teasers, which I'd like to point out we discussed prior to the first leak on Gran Turismo 7. We discussed the fact that he used to do that and questioned whether he would continue to tease cars in that way, and he has continued to tease cars in that way.
Very next day.
So that aged very well. But I do like that, because obviously it gets, like, you see that, I look at the silhouettes and I have no idea what I'm looking at. I read the comments, it's this and this and this, I think. And most of them agree, and you figure out what they are. It's like, cool. And he doesn't tease them far away. It's like 4 days max. So, find out what's coming. Cool.
You see the tweet, you know that this time next week there's going to be new cars in the game.
And that's the other thing is, is it Apricot Hill that's been teased, officially teased in the outlines? Like, I'm not excited for Apricot Hill. I know it's coming. When it comes, I'm going to feel like I already knew it was there.
I think you're gonna have the feeling, finally.
Yeah,
it's gonna be finally.
It's getting to the point where they've teased it and it's still not here. Like,
it's like
is it actually coming or?
Everyone's gonna forget about it. Everyone's gonna forget about it, and then it's gonna get added, and it's gonna be like, that one. That's right. We should have known that one was. It's like
new track. Hey, we knew that was coming.
It's like unwrapping a Christmas present in November.
And or knowing what you're going to get for Christmas and opening your present on the day and pretending you're surprised.
you really want like a PS5 for Christmas, and then your mum goes, that's okay. I'll buy that one for you for Christmas, and and then you have to go all the way up to Christmas knowing you.
Yeah. I dealt with that too. I feel your pain.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I
I think
PS5 for Christmas or anything, but yeah.
I think I said at one stage that I would bet hard cash that the first DLC track we were going to get was Apricot Hill. I guess I'm a broke man.
Yeah,
I'm a broke man.
In that sense, you're a broke man, but you also called the silhouettes, I think. So,
yeah,
you know,
you got a redeeming thing there.
Slings and roundabouts.
Well, I guess. But it's just funny to think that we've had a tease track, but that's not the first track.
Yeah,
I was actually going to say before. I was going to say before when Nismo brought up that it hadn't been leaked or data mined or anything. I actually happen to think Gran Turismo are one of the better entities at trying to keep their future content secret. I think they do a pretty good job of it overall. It's normal. Most content is always officially leaked, so
no one really
silhouettes.
No one really knows unless PD wants you to know about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they're quite good because I follow a bit of the. I don't follow it like intently, but I sort of see like Lego leaks and stuff. They're so bad for leaks. Like stuff will be leaked months in advance, and like a set number will get released, and then they're like, "Oh, well, we know this set's coming. It's probably going to be that because it matches up with the set number that came before it." Like they're just so bad, and then you get like internal shots from inside Lego, and it's obviously an employee that's taken the photo and then distributed it or whatever. But that's sort of what I compare it to. I see that, and it's like, well, I've known that's been coming out for months. And then PD, I did not know Watkins Glen was coming until the trailer dropped.
I think I think it was like
the day before, yeah.
I think it was like 12:15 at night, and I was like getting ready for bed, brushing my teeth. I was like settling in, and literally I was about to turn my Wi-Fi off for the night, and the thing pops up. Gran Turismo just uploaded, and I was like, "What? Okay." And here's me going, "Oh, okay. I know what the new cars are, but I thought I'd watch the trailer anyway because Gran Turismo are real good at their trailers, right? They're all very
the trailers are lovely. Yeah.
So I thought I'd just watch it, right? And then it was like
it's only like 30 seconds too. It's not like you're going to be staying up
I have
late.
to say as well, in terms of this particular trailer, I think this is the first piece of content that PDF put out in a while that's had a good response, mostly in the comments, rather than people saying, fix lobbies, fix online. Most of the time the comments are full of that. But this time, everyone was stoked. And I think that says a lot about what they brought to the game.
Again, I think that's partially because they haven't teased or like data mined or leaked anything like prior to on the Gran Turismo like Facebook pages especially. There's a lot of American people who are like, as an American or like, as a NASCAR fan, I really love that they're bringing like Watkins Glen in, and it's going to be so cool, and they're posting all these like videos because obviously there's the people that know what Watkins Glen is, and then there are the people who've never heard it before in their life. So there's lap guides and footage from old NASCAR races and IndyCar and all that sort of thing, and it's all just like you say, there's a very positive vibe going on at the moment, and it's nice to see that for the time being, like all the sort of negativity's just sort of dissolved away.
It is good.
Everyone's
it's
too
happier times. It's happier times right now. Like,
whether or not that lasts,
look at that GT on the up.
Whether or not that lasts, because I mean, obviously, we have an FIA race tomorrow, right? If everyone gets disconnected, well then we're all back to square one. We're all upset, aren't we? So,
well, I'm not showing up.
Neither am I.
That particular race.
Bugger that race. I'm going to a concert.
I'm doing it for the meme.
It's a good meme. It is a good meme.
I might tune into your stream.
You might be top split, mate.
Yeah. Good lord. Well, let's see. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. Matthew McEwen's not doing it, I don't think.
Andrew's doing it. I wonder if
like Andrew or Twitchy.
Andrew's doing it. I know Andrew's doing it.
I might actually be top split. If Lapwing and Hyperdrift and myself are all in top split, then we'll know. Then we'll know.
You gotta all cross the line together.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Do the formation Hooncorp formation finish.
They did that at Suzuka, funnily enough. Hyper and Ika 1-2 at Suzuka in the Toyota Cup.
Oh yeah,
that's cool, man. That's real cool.
Proud team moment.
Yeah.
So it's a bit ironic. We're just talking about how Gran Turismo is so good at not leaking things. And Smoke, you wanted to talk about this a little bit. There's a particular list of cars that has, funnily enough, been leaked.
There is. So, I do say they're particularly good at not leaking stuff. I don't know if I would call this a leak, because I'll get it up now. You may have heard of... hey? Oh, dear, yeah, what am I saying? A lot of you watching or listening may have heard of a YouTuber called HSG Automotive, or Hammer Studios Gaming.
Personal friend of mine, I'd like to point out.
Okay, well.
I've supported him since... let's put it this way. I remember when he first got 10,000 subs, and that was a big deal. That was, like, huge. And now, what is he, like 180k, I think?
Oh, he just hit 95. Oh, he's going to hit 96 shortly.
Maybe it was Instagram followers or something. I don't know. I remember
maybe it was.
I remember seeing a big... But anyway, Mike's a good bugger.
He's a good bloke? That's good. Well, he's put a video out 2 days ago, and the title is GT7 Data Mining Reveals 80 More Cars Coming in Future Updates. Now, the reason I don't call this a leak is because I've watched the video, and he sort of describes it as in people have sort of gone into the game files to see what's in there. So I guess you could call it a leak in that someone's found this information and posted it online, but I don't think Polyphony Digital have sort of done it on purpose or sort of...
No. It's an accidental leak of some kind.
It feels a bit different to like a normal leak, and I mean the video is that one there. Oh, look at that! My camera even
That's
focused
the one. Oh, look at him go.
It's probably mirrored, but
no, I can read it.
Idea.
I could read it.
You kind of get the idea. I do actually suggest you all go and watch that video, because I'm obviously not, unless I can find a list like right now, which I'm not going to attempt to look for, of all 80 cars. I'm not going to read out all 80.
80 cars sounds like a lot, because if we do some maths quickly before we get into this, they bring out 3 cars every month, right, at the moment. What's 80 divided by 3? It's like 27 or 28 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's 28 months worth of cars.
But then
it is a lot.
That's
2.5 years.
Yeah, but that's going on the assumption that they continue at their current rate of 3 cars. I mean, GT Sport, at one point in GT Sport's life, we were getting like 12 cars a month. So,
yeah,
wow.
You know.
And I mean, last month we saw 3 cars for GT7, and now this month we got 3 cars and a track. So, whereas I think maybe a lot of people maybe were expecting we'll get 3 cars and then maybe we'll get a month where it's just a track. But it kind of is starting to look like, obviously we've only had one update, but maybe it's starting to look like the content of the updates is going to start increasing. And there was also like lobby fixes and stuff, which I can't imagine was easy. So I think the updates will get a little bit like more substantial.
It was a pretty thorough update, this one.
Exactly. It is very easy to forget that we are, I mean, obviously, us 3 being sort of like Gran Turismo hardcore ists, right? We're enthusiasts. We basically play it every night, and it's always practicing for an event or something. It's very easy to forget that we're actually only in like the first few months of its life. So once and again, no doubt that Polyphony are hard at work behind the scenes trying to sort everything out. All the comments and the negativity on the internet that have you think that they're all just sitting around twiddling their thumbs going, I guess we'll start making Gran Turismo 8 now, but realistically, they are working hard.
That'll be years away.
Very hard. But
people get frustrated with the lack of communication, but you got to remember that the lack of communication is partially down to the fact that they can't necessarily afford to acknowledge that these issues exist publicly, because as a whole the game is still functional. You can play through the single player campaign and more with little to no issues. Like there will be nothing stopping you from doing it. So PD can afford to be silent on it for now, because they're not game-breaking problems in the grand scheme of things.
They do technically have a known issues page as well, and a lot of the lobby issues were actually in there.
Are already there, yeah. And it's easy to forget that Kaz had, like, in extreme circumstances, they do obviously respond. I mean, throwback to when Gran Turismo was down for like 36 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And then Kaz obviously typed out a big apology. So, they do communicate. They just choose to be very cards to their chest, because like you say, they can't afford to at the moment, being that it is still a very offline, like it is a return to form for the series. I mean, so many people said, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they remastered Gran Turismo 4? Which Gran Turismo 4 didn't have any online. So I guarantee you, if Gran Turismo 4 had online and, the lobbies had been like this, you think people would have the same warm, fuzzy memories? Like, it's so easy to forget that the offline experience is what they're focusing on for the time being. Obviously, the World Series, because, competition. But, yeah, it is definitely on the up and up. And once all those issues are addressed and are put to bed permanently...
I believe they will be at some stage as well.
Then I think we'll start to see the content coming thick and fast. Yeah, we'll start to see more cars, more often, more tracks. Well, maybe not more tracks, but definitely more content. I mean, Kaz even said, I can't remember when it was, but like we'll be getting 24-hour races for crying out loud. I mean,
that's right.
So,
I don't mind. I'll probably have a go at doing one in one sitting.
Yeah.
I'll have a go at it.
4, 6, and 12 hours would be enough, I think. Maybe 1 or 2 24s, but we started off obviously with the 1 hours that got brought out a little while ago. They've been relatively enjoyable, I suppose. Pretty easy in the grand scheme of things, but
those have sort of been a bit dull in the sense that they're kind of just start the race, drive fast. There's not really all that much racing. Like the AI.
Well, I think that's just more down to the AI. If the AI were more competitive, it would make the races a lot more difficult. And I think the other thing about that as well is if the races were too difficult and you got 40 minutes deep into it and you realised I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. You're going to have to quit and you've wasted 40 minutes.
That too.
But I guess that is kind of par for the course that sort of comes with doing races that are an hour long. You may not win all the time, but in the single player, I think you kind of, especially if you're gearing towards a load of casual players, which let's admit the majority of the player base are, you don't want to make it too difficult because you don't want people to waste 40 minutes of their life before they realise I'm not going to win.
Realise that they've got no chance.
Yeah.
Which arguably that is a part of endurance racing. I mean, if you enter the 24 hours of Nürburgring and you're in a Lambo GT3 and you're racing, and then you go, oh man, there's no way I'm going to make the top 10. You don't just pull it into the pits and go, nah, we'll hit restart, we'll try again. You know what I mean?
No, of course not.
It's one of those ones. On the topic of issues of Gran Turismo, though, one of the other, obviously...
Gee, how much time we got?
How we doing?
We've only been going for just over an hour, haven't we?
Yeah. I'm only joking. I'm only kidding.
One of the big news stories, Valerio Gallo, current world champion.
Yes.
Reigning world champion. Very fast man. Is hanging up his gloves for the time being.
He is. He tweeted about that earlier in the week, and I think
got a lot of attention too. But
it got
deservedly so as well. The question is now, so he's not playing the game at home, whatever. Like he's not doing the GTWS at the moment, but he's qualified for the Austria World Tour that's coming up. Speaking of which, we didn't discuss that. We haven't discussed that since it was announced. Our last episode was recorded before that was announced, so we do need to go into that as well. So Austria and Monaco World Finals, I'm pretty sure. So Valerio himself, and I think any of the best, they've only qualified for Austria. No one is a shoo-in to the World Finals yet. And there's also the Worlds. So that's the World Series Showdown in Austria. There's also 2 World Series races. I believe it's one Nations Cup, one Manufacturers Cup, that are scheduled to broadcast a week and 2 weeks before the World Series Showdown in Austria. So this is all next month stuff. And Valerio will be... I don't know, did he go to World Finals last year for Honda?
I think so.
I think he did. I think Honda had a team. I remember because there was a big argument about the Americas driver match fixing to get in. But anyway, Honda was there, Valerio was there. I think that automatically qualifies them for first round. I don't know if it qualifies them for World Series Showdown. Anyway, Valerio's got world stage events that are going to be televised to compete in. He's due to compete in them. Is he going to race in them? I don't know.
Is he going to contest? Well, if his issue is purely the online connectivity, right? The state of the game, the connectivity, and we talked about this last episode with Cy Bishop.
I think it's that, penalties and bop. I think those are the main contributing factors.
Yeah.
And there's like screen freezes too, which could ruin your race. Or you may get to the grid walk on a GT World Series race, and the game will place you on someone else's car.
Oh, I've seen that.
So like,
No point.
yeah, like I think I saw GTR. He like qualified somewhere down the field, and then when it got to the race, his camera was stuck on the pole sitter's car.
Okay. But I'm
it's
getting
like that
at
sort
is,
of stuff.
if his issue is purely like the gameplay stuff, then like, I mean, obviously Simon said that the World Showdown stuff, it's a completely separate build of the game. It's a lot more like it's land based.
Right,
It's a lot more,
yeah.
so straight away the connectivity issues are solved. Showdown also has stewards, like they have independent stewards and referees and stuff. So that's the penalties sorted. So all that would be left is the bop. Is the bop enough of an issue for him to say, nah, I'm not going to do it?
That argument is not necessarily the case for the online ones. So the nations and the manufacturers that are the World Series Round 1 that are before the World Series Showdown, they're played on this build of the game on a special server. They are on a special server, but they're on this build of the game. I think they are live stewarded, but yeah, it's not a LAN event like Austria will be. So for those, he's still going to be dealing with much of the same problems.
Well, his announcement...
He's already qualified to go to Austria, though.
Yeah, but he's got to race in those as well. Those are like they're like top 16, except it's global, basically.
Okay.
His announcement also came conveniently after the Monza, the recent Monza round, where the NSX was decidedly very, very crap. So maybe the bop was some kind of factor in it.
I wouldn't say the bop would be the major factor. I don't think Valerio's that petty to throw a tantrum per se because of his car not being competitive. And we know he's a Honda stan. He's a patriotic Honda driver. I'm sure the bop contributed to his reasons for not wanting to play the game at the moment, but I don't think that'll be the main reason.
There are definitely bigger issues than just the bop. But yeah, I don't remember exactly what his tweet was. Was it just, I'm taking a break till it's esports ready? Is that all he said?
Yeah, basically.
That's sort of the message that came across, but it was very polite, of course, as Valerio is. Well, what do we think's going to come from this, though? Do we think that PD are going to notice and care? Do we think that he will boycott the upcoming races? Will other people join him?
For me, I don't think PD will respond directly. I don't really know why. I guess it's because they don't really communicate too much elsewhere. I mean, we did say before they will communicate in extreme cases, but just in terms of like general communication with the community, like replying to somebody on Twitter, they never do that. I guess actually they have done that a couple of times on rare occasions, but it's not like something that they do.
Yeah.
PD have pretty open lines to, I think, all World Tour drivers, or most. And Valerio will be very high on that list, I'm sure.
I think they have some separate chat or something.
They have
I know that
a
much.
Discord server or some sort of means of communication. I think it depends.
I don't think. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think it depends on. I mean, obviously his complaints are valid. No, he's not. He's not just making some ludicrous claim or something that would be a bit not harder. Something that would take more to implement. Like it's valid claims. Most of the community is on his side, of course, because otherwise we would be having this discussion. And I guess really it's up to them if they do anything, because I mean we've seen it before with like Cody Nikola Likovsky, who obviously boycotted the game because he wants to see Macedonia represented, which as you would, you want to see your country represented. But whereas Valerio's complaints are gameplay related rather than like nationality.
It's a separate issue, but I think also Valerio's word carries potentially slightly more weight, especially with what he's the reasons why. I think trying to represent a specific country in the way that I think Cody was. We also obviously know very little about that. But Valerio's one is considerably clearer and easier to address.
Well, that's sort of. I think what I was getting at was that it's like it's two guys who have done the same thing, right? They're both boycotting the game, but their motives are very different. Because Valerio's motives are obviously that of a gameplay, quality of life gameplay thing, whereas Cody's are not just. I'm not trying to demean what he's after, but it's not something that affects the entire player base.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at. Is it's the same thing. It's a very high-profile GT driver who has a complaint with the game and who is obviously taking action. But then the question there is, what are they going to do about it? Like you say, Valerio's word.
There obviously also there wasn't a lot of chatter when Cody made his announcement way back. It would have been 2021 at some point. He made his announcement and most people didn't know and found out later that was why he wasn't back.
I will admit I'm one of those. I didn't know at the time.
So the message spread, but Valerio's announcement has made headlines in the GT communities. It's on Facebook. It's on Twitter. Everybody knows about it. So it's going to have more groundbreaking results, I think.
And of course,
my take.
You guys have got to stop interrupting each other. Honestly,
bloody hell, yeah. We start talking at the same time.
Disrespect in this podcast.
Who needs to talk?
Nismo, you go.
No, what I was... now I've forgotten what I was going to say. It was about...
Valerio.
Country
game.
Something
complaints.
Gran Turismo.
So the thing about obviously, Valerio is the current world champion, right? He's
of course.
Reigning champion. And of course, everyone wants to see the reigning champion show up and defend his title, right? That's the stellar headline that everyone loves to see, and that's not necessarily that's why they'll tune in to watch the grand final, but it's obviously a very big, it's a very big story that they can hype up. Jimmy and Tom can talk about it and really hype it up. So if he's not there, like you say, I think that sort of paints a bit of a even
people will ask why.
Even literally number one is not there to defend his title. Why is that? What's wrong? What is he?
Well, I wonder if other players will follow him if they have sort of the same idea, if they're doing it for the good of others and not only themselves.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be like
Can you imagine if they did the Austria World Tour, for example, and none of the competitors got on their planes? Genuinely, though.
Shambles.
Genuinely.
Shambles, mate.
What would happen?
Imagine if it was a world tour, but every single person that attended was someone who's never been to a world tour before. It was entirely new talent. No returning drivers.
It wouldn't necessarily be talent because it'd be second-rate drivers who couldn't qualify otherwise.
Oh.
It's just the truth.
It's just the truth. I'm sorry. Yeah.
People like me could potentially go, and I don't have a chance in hell right now.
Atom would get his invite. Yeah.
Well, it'd be like if you tuned into Formula 1 this year and Max Verstappen wasn't there. And the reason why he wasn't there is because there was something so fundamentally wrong with
the rules.
The rules, yeah. And I mean, I guess you could say after bloody Abu Dhabi that maybe there is, but...
If Michael Massey was still in charge, maybe he would have literally done that.
Yeah.
Or Lewis would have done that.
Yeah, more likely Lewis. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, you're watching Formula 1, you got first-time champion, obviously it was Max's first championship last year, and then imagine if he released a statement saying, I don't like the way this is run, I don't like the bloody track limit or whatever.
I don't
because
like
it's
how
not
many
clear.
DNFs I'm getting because they won't let us use. They're making us use alloy conrods.
I think the main.
But yeah, it'd be like
Yeah.
that, and then viewers will watch and they go, "Oh, gee, yeah, no, that's a bit how you going, isn't it? The world champion doesn't even want to return because this rule is so bad." Oh, if it were me organising it, which that's a bloody big stretch,
Yeah.
but if I was running a motorsport category and the reigning champion, not wanting to race because there was something so wrong with the category, as the person running it, I would go, "Oh man, I should probably do something about this because this isn't painting a very good picture in the media."
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. Kind of like that.
I think the difference is though that like the Gran Turismo drivers aren't being paid like millions of dollars just to show up on the grid. Like even the last place driver is getting, millions just to sort of be there, just to show up.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? That's a bit
Of course, yeah. No, it's
yeah.
not. It's
It is
obviously
different,
not a
but I agree.
like comparison.
I agree
but
with the analogy. It's still
just, yeah.
It should send a message. I think less people
That's
are invested.
all I'm getting at. Yeah.
This is also less people are invested in the championship history in Gran Turismo. Like a lot of people will be new to Gran Turismo 7 and won't have watched any of the previous World Finals. We now have 4 different Nations Cup winners. We've got Mikazal, Igor Fraga, Miyazono, and Valerio Gallo. That's 4 different drivers who have won the Nations Cup, and a lot of people won't know who any of them are. Who will be tuning into these World Finals and things like that, and they're not going to notice that Gallo's not there unless the commentators explicitly point it out.
Or they'll think, oh, those are the guys that they're the AIs from those races. You know,
Why are we watching a World Championship made up of AI? But other big news on that topic. Live events are back. We haven't talked about this. This is old news now. This is old news, but live events are back.
It's still new news for the Trackside Lounge.
It is. It's the first time being talked about on Trackside Lounge. So we got 2 live events this year. One that's supposed to be in Austria. That's the World Series Showdown, but they are subject to change on that location. But they're planning to hold a live event, COVID pending. And then Monaco World Finals. The location is set. It's going to be in Monaco no matter what. Assuming COVID makes sure it's all okay to go ahead and things like that. So 2 live events for 2022, hopefully more in 2023, now that we're kind of on the tail end of the pandemic and everyone's kind of forgetting about it a bit. We're actually able to go travelling. So a lot of people are vying for spots on that roster, and it's made the GT World Series a whole lot more competitive. A lot of people will have noticed. You guys will have noticed.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of people that are working hard to get there. So it's made for a different dynamic, but it's also very exciting. So I'm really excited to see live events back because honestly, the online events that they ran, the World Finals last year, and the World Series Showdown, they were a little bit underwhelming. Honestly. They were a little bit underwhelming. A lot of one-a-time racing.
They were, but I think, again, Gran Turismo were working with what they had, and obviously, who saw COVID coming, right? I mean, just weeks before the first lockdown was Sydney. So, like, given what they had to work with, and given just how it all panned out, I think they handled it okay. The only reason I say okay is because, obviously, you had, like, a NASCAR and supercars and all that doing their own like esports series as well, and they were, if you ask me, they were a little bit more polished just because they were obviously all like, anything on like iRacing is always going to look better, isn't it? It's always going to be a bit more sort of
official looking.
The names in it are a bit more famous as well. Van Gisbergen, for example.
There's also probably a lot more money going into the event from NASCAR and supercars.
I don't know about that. Gran Turismo
pretty high budget Gran Turismo events.
Okay, all right.
But they put a fair chunk of change into those events. But
they spent a lot of money sending out the equipment, like laptops and cameras for the drivers as well.
That's true. Okay.
What I'm getting,
maybe I'm inaccurate there.
Check your sources, smoke. But no. But what the thing is, like, they worked with the cards they were dealt, basically. So the fact that we're now in a position, as far as the pandemic, that we can return to these sorts of live events, and they can obviously bring the top drivers together into one place and actually have them, competing in the same room under the same roof. I think that's really cool. It's definitely going to be something that, especially now that we're on 7, because obviously this is also going to be the first live event in Gran Turismo 7. So what are the changes?
It better all run smoothly.
What are the differences? Yeah, well, that too. So I'm certainly going to be very keen to see how it plays out compared to obviously the previous events.
Given what we've seen in live events of the past, I'm expecting it to be amazing. I don't think there's been
high expectations.
I don't think there was a single live event in 2020, 2019, well, I wouldn't know too much about 2018, but none of the 2019 ones were disappointing to watch. All of them were hugely exciting start to finish, and they looked like top tier, high budget broadcasts. The location was kitted out. Yeah, they were polished as, man. They were awesome. So I expect more of the same. To be honest, I know I'm setting the bar high, but I'm sure
they've done that to themselves, though.
I'm sure they're up to the challenge of that, to be honest. And they're only doing 2, and they fitted 5 or 6 into 2019, if memory serves. They had 5 world tours in the world finals.
That's right.
Or it might have been 4 world tours and the world final.
4 and the world finals, yeah.
And they're doing 2 this year. That's light work to these guys.
Yeah, exactly right. And the production quality of the live, I'm not. Please understand, I'm not saying that the broadcasts themselves are subpar compared to the supercars and stuff, but it was just those at-home ones that they had to do with obviously as a result of the COVID that were just not quite the same. Everything's always better when you can be in the same room and when you're live and when everyone's there, right? It's always going to look better, and the presenters are always going to sort of bounce off each other a bit more and all that sort of thing. So,
look, it kind of sounds like you're saying you could run a better operation yourself, mate.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying? Is it?
Absolutely not, dude. I'd be standing there going, "Hey, look, there's Igor Fraga. He's I'm pretty
Brazil.
fast, eh?" Look at the way
move over Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent. There's no Naths on the mic.
Is that Miyazono using grip hacks? Grip hacks? Nah, he's just better than me. Oh, that's right.
No, that was the most New Zealand thing I think I've ever heard you say.
What, grip hacks?
No, is that grip hacks? Nah, he's just better than me.
Nah, but hey, look,
I was only kidding. I think in terms of like you say, they were only sort of doing what they were dealt with. I think if the alternative was no event at all, the online event was a raging success. If we look at it that way,
absolutely.
But it's obviously never got to be as good as a live event. But Atom has said he's expecting big things, and I kind of agree with that because we've had. How long since the last one? 2 years or something?
Sydney 2020, so 2.5 years.
February, 2.5. Yeah. It's been 2.5 years, so I'm expecting I'm expecting them to return with a bang.
Just on a semi-related side note, obviously GT7 has no more FIA partnership going on.
FIA's confirmed gone, yeah.
Does that matter? Because we've seen now, because there were questions initially about, obviously, the what's the FIA's one called? The FIA Motorsport Games or something.
Yeah.
That's just recently been confirmed. That's now Assetto Corsa. Assetto Corsa have the rights. It's going to be hosted there. Does that matter for the live events and stuff? Do they need that FIA?
I don't think so. I think the FIA basically... realistically, every cynic of sim racing is going to turn their nose up at a sim racing event no matter who certifies it. And FIA is the biggest organisation to certify a motorsport event, and those people will still turn their nose up at it. But I think the FIA... certificate that Gran Turismo had and the way they could kind of throw that term around, it added to the legitimacy of the event for most people. It might have tempted. They see FIA and they might be tempted to click on it more than they would have been if it wasn't there. So that may change a couple of things, but I don't think it's going to change a lot. I don't think the FIA was majorly bankrolling events or anything like that. I don't know if they supplied the stewards. That might be something that's
true.
Different. But realistically, how hard is it to find a steward?
It certainly sounded a lot more attractive because, like, obviously having an esports team, you know, like managing an esports team like I do, you know, when you're trying to like search for sponsors or whatever, and I'd be like talking about, oh, you know, our team is most active in the FIA Gran Turismo World Championship.
Oh yeah,
you know, like it sounds
getting sponsored as a driver in the FIA World Championship.
Really attractive, but
that's
like,
a big one.
Like, now I can't call it that. Now it's like it's the Gran Turismo World Series. Like it just doesn't.
Gran Turismo World Series, though, it's the best alternative name they could have come up with because it tells you exactly what it is and the scale of what it is in a simple name that it has the gravity of what it is in the name. You know, you tell someone I drive in the Gran Turismo World Series, that's immediately the number one. That's the biggest esports competition in that thing.
As soon as the word world is in there, they're like, oh, is it worldwide? Yeah, it is. Yep. It is actually.
It's a world championship, and you know that's enough. I think that's enough.
Yeah. Did the FIA sort of push advertising for the events? Like, did they would they tweet stuff or whatever? Or
I don't think so. They were in the hashtags, but admittedly, I wasn't around for the live events, so
yeah, I don't really follow.
I wasn't that invested. I wasn't as invested as I am now.
Yeah, I don't really follow the FIA too close. You know, like as an entity, I don't really follow them too closely. So I don't think I saw much. But certainly, the most advertising that I've seen from like a non-Gran Turismo thing was definitely Toyota. Obviously, Toyota Gazoo.
Toyota pushed it.
Yeah, they push all the stuff.
I presume Mazda don't push it the same way.
You sometimes see the odd post because you know how Gran Turismo, their social media accounts, they sort of do the odd post where they'll just be like, you know, there's a picture of a car. Oh, you know, show us your best wiper shot or show us your best. They did one where it was cars with like BBS wheels. Oh, show us your best, you know, design with like BBS wheels, and I think they retweeted that. But that was like, I think that was like start of their collaboration, their partnership. So you sort of see the odd. It's like Gran Turismo replying to stuff on Twitter. It happens, but it's not like common enough to really like say that they do. So
yeah. Well, in that sense, then I don't think the live events themselves will sort of come to too much of a detriment because a lot of people that are interested in the live events sort of already. They know about it from playing the game kind of thing. They don't need something like the FIA to tweet about it and then go, oh, what's this? Especially if they're not interested in Gran Turismo. Like, if the Queen of England tweets something that I'm not interested in, I'm probably not going to look at it. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people are probably going to be the same. If they're not interested in Gran Turismo, they don't need the FIA to tweet it. So even though it doesn't really happen, but just say it did, now that it wouldn't happen anymore, I don't think they're going to lose too much, and I'm not actually expecting the live events to look too different or feel too different to how they were with the FIA involvement. But that's my take on that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the main thing we can all agree on is that the live events are back, woohoo, and they are going to look phenomenal. Yeah. You know, they are going.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch them.
They are going to be very nice.
I'm excited. And I'm excited to see the boys racing them as well.
See the boys.
A couple of guys that we are now on, you know, pretty good terms with.
Yeah.
They're going to get flown around the world this year,
Twitchy
man.
And
so
Matthew.
Yeah. So here's one I think make for a very interesting discussion, and something obviously to do with the manufacturer series. So what you can do in Gran Turismo 7 is you can sign up for your manufacturer, and now you can drive any car. So if you're in a BMW, you can pick the M6 or the Z4 or the M3, and you can use any of them for any given race, right? In GT Sport, obviously you had to pick your cars and you had to stick with them for the full season. So what they've done here with the being able to pick any car for any race, is it fair, or should you have to like pick a car and see it through the entire season?
It should be the latter, 100%.
Well,
I have opinions.
I disagree. I think obviously it does lend you a pretty big advantage if you can pick and choose between the cars, but let's be real. They take 50% of your grade per se. They take your 50% best rounds. So 3 out of 6, 4 out of 8, 5 out of 10, whatever it is. You can look at the tracks before you sign and before you pick your cars. In Gran Turismo Sport, you had to pick one car from one manufacturer. So let's say, for example, you have Volkswagen, or no, better, McLaren. McLaren had in Group 3, they had the 650S, which was a decent race car. It wasn't really strong anywhere. It wasn't really weak anywhere. It could be driven anywhere. And then it had the McLaren F1, which was a straight line demon, but otherwise a terrible car. So if you looked at the track list for the season, 10-round season, and they take 5 rounds, or let's say it's the 6-round season we're on at the moment, right? You got 3 Group 3 races and 3 Group 4 races, and out of your 3 Group 3 races, one's at Le Mans and one's at a Tokyo track, and the other one's at Brands Hatch. If you're picking McLaren, which car are you going to pick? You're going to pick the F1 because it's a power car. It's going to do well at Le Mans and Tokyo. And, you're just not going to do the 3rd Group 3 race. You'll take your points from one of the Group 4 races.
Yeah.
But in Gran Turismo 7, you can then do the first 2 races and do the 3rd race as well in a still competitive car. I think it's realistically, it's no different. It means you don't have to overthink your choice anymore, which is good. But obviously, some people will say it lends you an unfair advantage because you get more rounds in a competitive car. But I think overall,
that's me.
It's not that big of a deal. I think you just factor it into your manufacturer choice.
Yeah, I think the natural clapback, and I mean, obviously, some of the listeners listening will probably share this opinion, is that what about the people that only have one choice? So if you're driving for Citroen, or if you're driving for...
There's heaps, Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari, or... if
Lexus.
If you're picking... Lexus has the prototype and the...
Anyway, we get where you're going. We get where you're going.
Stupid of me.
If you sign up for a manufacturer that only has one Group 4 and one Group 3...
Genesis, there we go. That's my last contribution.
Thanks, Smoke.
That's okay.
What are they to do? Because they have to basically...
I say pick a different manufacturer if you've got a problem with it.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
What I would start to worry about there is that
everyone would
obviously
pick the right one.
Everyone would end up just picking the manufacturer that has the most cars.
If you want to say that, then I'd say look at what everyone's picking at the moment. Everyone's picked Subi because it's the best manufacturer, and they don't even have multiple cars. They do have 2 cars in Group 3, but let's be real, no one's using the GT500 300, sorry.
Yeah
they're not it's obviously a very complex topic. My take on it is I don't think it's fair, because if you get, like Atom kind of said it before, if you get someone choosing like Genesis or whatever, and then someone choosing BMW, the person in BMW can go, okay, well, the M6 is the M6 a handling car? Do we know?
I don't know, man. I don't know what it is.
I don't know
it's
what
a race
car. I think the Z4 is good in a straight line, so I think maybe you'd probably use the M6 for maybe more handling tracks, and then the Z4 for the power tracks, whereas... if you're stuck with one car, you have to deal with that car's disadvantages sort of at whatever racetrack those disadvantages will become really apparent at. Whereas if you're in BMW, you can go, okay, the M6 is actually pretty crap at this track, so I can choose the Z4. I don't have to deal with any of the disadvantages of my cars because I can pick and choose which cars that are the strongest at each track. So in that sense, I feel as though if you've got several cars to choose from, you can mitigate each car's disadvantage by just picking the other car when the first car's weak, whereas someone stuck with one car, they just have to deal with what they're dealt, basically.
I think the fairest way to deal with this problem, if PD wanted to sort this out and make it completely fair for everyone, is to go through every manufacturer, pick your hero car, like Toyota, it would be the GR Supra GT Concept, make that the only car available to pick from that menu. So for Toyota, you can only pick the GR GT Concept, that's what you get. You can't pick the FT1 if you want it, you don't get it. And you can't use the other ones like you can in GT7 right now. You have to use the GR GT Concept. And then every manufacturer has one Group 4 and one Group 3 that's available for use in the manufacturer series. Then it's a level playing field. That's the only way you could make it fair. Otherwise, you still force people to pick the better car for the season, like McLaren, the way it used to be. Obviously, you'd pick the F1 if it was a power track heavy season. You eliminate the option to choose that car, you make it perfectly fair, completely fair. It's everything's right in the world. I think right now the way it is, it's no different to being able to pick and choose between what the manufacturer has at the start of the season.
I'm still yet to find it. I'm still yet to see a race where the GT500 Skyline has been better than the GTR. Like,
I don't think it will come unless they buff it. I think it's pretty poor.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, was it that race at Sardinia Sea where Metal Gear went for the Sylvia and, you know, by all accounts did better than any were expecting in a car that's like 60 horsepower down on the GTR. But, you know, like, yeah. I think what you said's fair. I think it's fair. It's just part of the strategy. It's part of the stuff you have to factor in before you sign the dotted line, isn't it?
It's unfair, but not to an extreme. You know, like it's no one's going to have a whinge about that when one manufacturer qualifies over the other at the end of the season.
And of course, the other retort to it is that, you know, I mean, I asked Psydog, you know, in the last episode if he was the sort of guy who studies the car list, or does he go, oh man, I love this manufacturer, you know, like, if you're the latter, so if you're the sort of person that, you know, I love Citroen, I'm going to represent Citroen, you know, and if you're sad because Citroen isn't competitive, just go do some of the offline races, because honestly, you can wipe the floor with the AI and feel better about yourself, you know.
In the car.
Citroen's not competitive in a global series context. Just deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's that sort of, you know.
I think if you're very patriotic for a particular brand, you do have to be prepared if that brand is not very competitive.
You have to be prepared for heartbreak, and that's kind of what I mean. I'm obviously I love Nissan, so I've always run Nissan, with the exception of one season, but we don't talk about that. And thank you.
What manufacturer did you run?
I raced with Toyota, and the only reason I did
Toyota Nath doesn't quite have the same.
TRD Nath. Gazoo Nath.
TRD Gazoo Racing Nath.
Funnily enough, the only reason I picked Toyota was Cy Bishop, funnily enough, hit me up, and he said, if you drive for Toyota, I'll share with you everything I know. And he gave me, that was the race, that was the season that I
Willow Springs race. He beat me.
Yep.
Willow Springs Group 4, he was in the 86 and I was in the Megane.
Front wheel drive Megane?
The front wheel drive Megane, yeah. I think I drove off the track. I'm going to blame it on that.
Oh,
that's no good. That's not ideal.
I was going to beat him, but I drove off the track. Of my own accord, it was my own fault.
Yeah, he meant to do that. It was a tactical thing. Anyway, but yeah, half the reason I stick with Nissan all the time is because it's competitive. Like it has a chance. You know, it has more of a chance than most to actually qualify. So, I love it.
You can see what GTR does with it.
Oh, dude, mate, he is the best Nissan driver in the region, and that's
actually that's incorrect. Hiragrand is outperforming him this season.
Talking Oceania, you know. But anyway, okay.
Okay, Oceania. All right, yes. Okay. Different story.
Technicalities, technically correct. Yeah. So, like, yeah, if you are in the unfortunate position where the manufacturer that you absolutely love and you've got all the merch and all the apparel and you really want to own one when you grow up, sort of thing, and it's not competitive in the World Series, then the offline is for you, my friend, because that's what that's
It's
for.
infuriating when that happens, man.
Yeah, but I think if you're gonna succeed in the online championships and stuff, you need to be prepared to cut some losses. And if something as simple as your manufacturer selection is going to get in the way, then I don't think you would be right for competition anyway, because it's just one of those.
Something that's good about the manufacturer series is that if you do get a case where the manufacturer that you love the most is just simply not competitive to the point where you got no chance of fighting for wins in whatever split you normally get put into, you can then sort of narrow down the focus of your season to trying to do the best you can within your own manufacturer. So you can filter by the manufacturer results, and then it's sort of everything will sort of even out. Everything will become sort of weighted with one another. They'll go, okay, well, the Citroen is really crap, so maybe the best a Citroen can do at any round is 200 points. So let's just try and get that. Obviously, you're not going to be getting the 400 points maybe the Subaru's capable of, but that difference there, will be down to the car and not yourself. So
That's true.
I love being an underdog on car choice, to be honest.
I actually
satisfying.
There's been more than a few races where people are like, "Hey, why are you picking Nissan again? Are you mad?" And then you go to a race and you finish like 5th or 6th, but the people that you finished behind were like swearing black and blue that their cars were the meta. You'd beat a Subaru, you'd beat a Subaru, or you'd beat a Toyota. Or the funny one was Mercedes-Benz when Cody was at the peak of his dominance, and everyone was picking Mercedes because obviously Cody was driving the wheels off it, and it was a good car. But well,
it wasn't necessarily a good car. He just drove the wheels off it and made it look really good.
That's what I'm saying. You had that Lemmings effect of this guy's doing really well, so we're all gonna. And Mercedes was always a very popular choice. Not so much now, unfortunately, but
I don't recall people saying good things about the Group 4 SLS in
not the Group
GT
4
Sport.
Because it wasn't particularly good. The Group 3 was the one everyone was after.
It was always the Group 3, yeah. So I think that was wasn't that the one that they based all the BOP settings off of?
They never adjusted the Mercedes GT3 BOP.
Yeah, so
it never got BOP.
That was their starting point. So
baseline, yeah.
Which is interesting because Mercedes isn't a partner manufacturer, is it?
No, but it was
not.
I think they just decided it was the baseline and went with that. They needed one.
There's
no apparent baseline
in
GT7.
Hamilton.
Oh yeah,
there was Lewis Hamilton affiliation.
The Maestro.
The Maestro, that's it.
He's still credited in the GT7 credits as well.
And he hasn't appeared once.
He's probably going to appear at the Monaco World Tour at the final. Yeah. I think.
I hope so.
And then they'll announce the Lewis Hamilton Time Trial DLC 2. That's
good. I hope they do because I liked that DLC.
It was pretty good, man. It was good.
Bro, what if they go to the Monaco World Final and they announce that Monaco's coming to the game?
Oh,
I wouldn't be that excited.
That is something. That's something I did have written down. I said
it because I knew Smoke
we've gone
excited.
Yeah. It is something I had written down, like other tracks. We probably should have talked about this earlier, but it's okay. We have just clicked over 2 hours, so we'll start to wrap up shortly. But yeah, what are some other tracks we would like to see? My one is Monaco, and I don't sit here and believe that it's going to be the absolute best track for racing. I just think it'd be cool to have a modern interpretation of Monaco in a Gran Turismo game.
No, that's fair enough.
For me, I'll let you think further now. I would like to see El Capitan brought back. That was a Gran Turismo 4 track, which I remember quite well. I don't really remember any other tracks from Gran Turismo 4, but that one, for some reason, I remember like the first 2 sectors very well, and then the rest kind of is just a blur because I don't really remember it that well. I'd like to see that brought back. I don't know if it'd be a very good racetrack, but I'd just like to drive around it again.
If I remember El Capitan correctly, it had some pretty funky elevation changes. It was big uphill, big downhill.
If
it was going to come to the game, I think those would be very muted. Like it would be almost resurfaced to like not flat, but certainly a lot more less drastic changes because
Nah, bugger that. I want airtime. Give me my Escudo.
like
I
if
want to
they-
go over a jump.
Actually, an interesting side note about that too, about the tracks, because obviously Trial Mountain got revamped, Deep Forest got revamped, and everyone, pre-release, everyone talked about how it was because of the FIA and all the original tracks had to be FIA approved and graded and all that sort of thing.
Or laser
So,
stone.
well, something
That's
like that.
interesting.
But now that FIA is not a thing, what's stopping them from bringing in like the legacy versions of the tracks? They don't necessarily.
I don't think Gran
used.
Turismo's ever been about that, but it would be an interesting idea to chase.
They have to an extent, because I remember Gran Turismo 4 had the old school Fuji, and then it had the new school. Because like 2004, Fuji Speedway had been like massively revamped. I don't know if it was 2004, but it was close enough. You had the old school Fuji that everyone knew and loved then, and then you had the brand new 21st century Fuji, which is obviously the one we have now. So whether they did that with their own tracks, that could, could be.
I think we have spoken about this before, I believe. I think there would be space in the game to have the legacy versions. I just don't necessarily believe that in that exact spec that we saw in the earlier games they'll be the best for racing. I think the only reason they've revamped them is to make the racing better. I do believe that's the only reason.
Who's to say they have to be included in the World Tour calendar? Who's to say?
They don't. They certainly don't.
They can be there.
They don't.
They can put them wherever they like, mate.
Let's be honest. If it was fleshing out the track count, they wouldn't argue, would they?
Nah.
No, and I suppose.
I mean, we don't even know. We don't even know if Watkins Glen's going to be any good for racing yet. We might. This race is coming
It
up.
must be if it's a real life racetrack, surely.
Oh,
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Monaco exists.
I was going to say Monaco exists.
I suppose you're right.
El Capitan, your only track, Atom?
I also would like to say any New Zealand track.
Okay.
Just for patriotism.
That's fair.
Sorry, that was a caveat to mine as well. Any Australian track, basically.
Yeah.
That's fair.
If by some weird twist of fortune, somehow the Gold Coast Street Circuit got added, I would never ask for another track ever again.
There you go.
Because that is my true local. Like I say, Bathurst is my local, but if we want a true local track, it's that one there.
Speaking of Aussie tracks, I heard F1's going to Adelaide in the near future.
I thought that
Uh,
Not F1.
Was it not F1?
Supercars is returned for 5 years. That got announced today.
Wasn't it one of the government in Adelaide was throwing a hissy fit because Melbourne Formula One has secured Melbourne for like the next, is it like 5 or 10 years or something?
Yeah.
And he threw a hissy fit because he was like, we can throw way better motorsports events, if they just give us a chance. So I don't know, bro, but yeah. So what about you? So your tracks are just anything Australian, Smoke?
Pretty much anything.
And you said
Australian
Monaco as well, didn't
and
you?
Monaco.
Monaco.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough.
And the thing about Monaco is that I do believe it has a decent chance of getting added, given they host the event there. I think
there's a rumor it's already been scanned.
It's in the files, right? They've got the files for the laser scan there.
I don't know. But is that true, is it?
Unsure. It's a rumour.
Bloody hell, that'd be alright.
There's enough people talking about it that you have to want. Like, when one person talks about it, okay, cool. When there's a bit of a discussion going on about it, okay, cool, but I've seen it crop up enough and, like, consistently that I'm sort of going, I think we might be... so
it might be there for them. The other one is Pikes Peak as well. People say that Pikes Peak is a scanned track that Polyphony have access to. So
especially more so.
I always say they have the license.
The Suzuki VGT was teased on Pikes Peak. The pictures were there. So
yeah, and that's right, Smock. Polyphony are the only games company with the license to use Pikes Peak. Is that right?
I believe it is, yeah.
Because the first Dirt Rally had Pikes Peak, but then, Gran Turismo Sport came out, and they somehow ended up with the license, and no other rally games had it ever since. Not even the licensed WRC games or anything.
Well, I do believe there's a lot in store for Gran Turismo 7, so... And it could be years in the future. We may not see it for years to come.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I believe there's a lot in store. If there's that list of 80 cars, which I believe...
What's on Nate's
pretty good chance.
track wish list?
Oh, yeah.
True.
So, okay, obviously, I would like anything Kiwi, anything Australian. If we're going to talk Australian tracks, I would like to see either Phillip Island or Hidden Valley.
Oh, I've got one that I forgot to say.
Outside of Australia or New Zealand, I'd like to see Hockenheimring or Istanbul.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Those are probably my two.
What about Bahrain?
Bahrain.
You mean Bahrain?
Bahrain. I don't.
Oh, mate.
I haven't driven it enough to know, really. I've driven it before. I think it was in one of the early V8 Supercars games, but I don't remember it as well. I haven't played the F1.
Yeah.
I haven't played the F1 games, so I don't know it. I don't know. Istanbul, I like because it was made by Herman Tilke, which obviously everyone jokes about Tilke drones, but it was made before he started copy pasting bits from tracks, so it's still unique in that regard. And Hockenheimring, I don't know. I've just always had a thing for it. It's just one of those
fair
tracks.
enough.
And even the GP layout, we had a meetup a while ago, and there was a whole bunch of us Aucklanders, from the Monkey Motorsports Club and stuff. We all met up and we went to a place in the city that has iRacing, and you can basically show up and do it's a big sim racing place, kind of like your setup, Atom, but you can do whatever you want. If you want to show up and do dirt rally, you can. If you want to show up and do some Assetto Corsa, do some drifting with your mates, you can. Or if you want to do iRacing or whatever, and we all did was it iRacing? It was V8 Supercars at Hockenheimring, modern B in the Mustang. That was pretty cool. So yeah, Hockenheimring, Istanbul. What was the one that I reminded you of, Smoke?
Yeah.
What did I remind you of?
Oh, one of the Aussie tracks.
I said Hidden Valley and Phillip Island, and you were like, "Oh, I forgot."
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Albert Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would like to see it.
Not so much personally.
It's not a track that I have I've previously had a great interest in until it was actually the recent Australian Grand Prix round this year. I was watching it, I was thinking, this is a cool track. Why aren't I interested in it? And I feel like if I had it in Gran Turismo, and I was sort of not forced, but obviously it was there, easily accessible for me to race on, I would probably get on it, learn the track, and begin to like it. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like it's one of those tracks that, as an Aussie motorsport fan, you should like. But I don't really.
You're obligated to like.
Well,
I'm obligated. I'm forced to like it.
It doesn't appear to be a bad track, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I happen to quite enjoy both the Australian Grand Prix and the Supercars races there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, that was good. We got through a lot there, so that's pretty good.
Bit of ad-libbing.
A bit of it.
Yeah, well, we always ebb and flow. I kind of like it.
We had so many more prompts too, so I guess we'll have to save those for the next episode.
We're going to have to.
Yep.
Damn it, darn running out of time. Bloody hell.
We'll just have to film another episode right after this episode.
Guest on next time.
Yeah,
Guest on
definitely.
next time.
Yeah.
We're getting the guest.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Trackside Lounge podcast today. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and especially those who made it all the way to the end to hear this closing message.
They're the real ones.
Hell yeah.
Absolute real ones. Absolute top-tier Trackside Lounge supporters. But that's going to wrap up this episode of the Trackside Lounge podcast today, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more podcasts from us. But that's not the end of this one today, and that means that is it from us. So once again, we do thank you very much for watching, or listening, and we'll see you later.
Great success.
Beautiful.
Hey, I reckon you could...